The notification popped up while I was sitting in my lawyer's office, reviewing the settlement papers that would officially end my marriage to Richard Hartwell III. My phone buzzed against the mahogany conference table, and despite Diane's disapproving look, I glanced at the screen. Facebook, you've been tagged in a post by Jennifer Morrison Blake. Against my better judgment, I opened it. There it was, in all its glory, a photo of me from last Christmas, admittedly not my best angle, caught mid-bite of stuffing, with Jennifer's commentary overlaid in that obnoxious cursive font she loved. My loser sister still single at 35 while some of us are planning baby number 3. Others are still focusing on their career, #spinsterlife, #TikTok biological clock, #pray for Sarah. The comments were already rolling in, old high school classmates, distant relatives, her mommy blog followers, all chiming in with their sympathy and unsolicited advice. Poor Sarah, has she tried online dating? My cousin was single until 37 and then met someone. There's still hope. Maybe if she wasn't so picky. Career women always regret waiting too long. I set the phone down and returned my attention to Diane, who was highlighting another clause in the agreement. As we discussed, the intellectual property remains entirely yours. All patents, trademarks, and proprietary technology developed before and during the marriage are excluded from marital assets. Mr. Hartwell has agreed to a clean break, no claims on your companies, no ongoing financial obligations either way. And the NDA? I asked. Ironclad. He can't discuss your net worth, your companies, or any details about your assets, as far as the public is concerned. This is an amicable divorce between two professionals. I signed where she indicated, each signature another step toward freedom. Richard wasn't a bad man, we'd simply married for the wrong reasons. He'd wanted a trophy wife to complement his hedge fund lifestyle. I'd wanted cover while I built my empire. For 5 years, it had worked. I played the corporate wife at his events while secretly running 3 tech companies from my hobby room. The marriage had served its purpose. Now it was time to shed that skin. That's the last one, Diane announced, gathering the papers. Congratulations, Sarah, you're officially single again, and approximately $30 million richer than when you walked in. The money was always mine, I corrected. Now it's just legally protected. My phone buzzed again. Jennifer had updated her post. Update, just found out she's at a lawyer's office right now, probably getting sued for being such a workaholic. This is what happens when you think you're too good for a normal life. I couldn't help but laugh. If only she knew which lawyer's office and why. The drive back to my apartment was peaceful. I'd moved out of Richard's Manhattan penthouse months ago, choosing a modest but comfortable place in Brooklyn. From the outside, it looked like a downgrade. In reality, it was freedom from pretense. My phone rang through the car speakers. Mom. Sarah. Honey, I just saw Jennifer's Facebook post. Are you okay? I'm fine, Mom. She shouldn't have posted that. I told her it was mean-spirited. But you know your sister. She's just worried about you. Worried. That's what they called it when Jennifer publicly humiliated me for sport. She's always been jealous, Mom continued, ever since you got that scholarship to MIT and she had to go to community college. She chose to get married at 19 instead of finishing school. That wasn't my fault. I know, sweetheart. But she sees you with your fancy job and your city life, and she feels inadequate. My fancy job. If only Mom knew that my consulting work was actually running a cybersecurity firm that protected Fortune 500 companies from data breaches. That my little startup had just been valued at $45 million. That my side projects included 2 other profitable tech ventures. But I'd learned long ago that money talk in our family only led to problems. Jennifer's husband Blake had borrowed $50,000 from our parents for his failed restaurant venture and never paid it back. My brother Tom had declared bankruptcy twice trying to flip houses. Success in the Morrison family was seen as a target, not an achievement. Tell Jennifer not to worry, I said. I'm exactly where I want to be. After hanging up, I scrolled through more comments on the post. It had over 500 reactions now, shares climbing. Jennifer was basking in the viral attention, adding updates every hour. 3 p.m. update, still no response from Sarah, too busy with her important meetings to defend herself. 5 p.m. update, Mom says Sarah is fine but won't return anyone's calls. Classic avoidance. 7 p.m. update, remember when she said she'd be married by 30? #aged like milk. Each update drew more engagement, more pity, more judgment from people who hadn't spoken to me in years but felt qualified to dissect my life choices. Meanwhile, I was at home, reviewing the contracts for my company's upcoming acquisition. A Silicon Valley giant wanted to buy my cybersecurity protocol for $15 million. Not bad for something I'd developed in my hobby room while Richard attended charity galas. The irony wasn't lost on me. While Jennifer crafted her narrative of my failure, I was literally signing papers worth more than her husband would earn in 10 lifetimes. The next morning, I woke to 47 missed calls and over 100 text messages. Jennifer's post had gained traction overnight. Someone had shared it in our high school alumni group. It had made its way to Reddit. I was officially viral as the loser sister. My business partner, Marcus, called while I was making coffee. "Sarah, have you seen?" "Yes. Do you want me to handle it?" "I can have our PR team." "No, let it play out." "You sure? This is getting ugly." "Someone posted your high school yearbook photo." "Marcus, I'm about to close 3 major deals worth a combined $22 million. My sister's Facebook drama is background noise." "If you say so." "By the way, the Tokyo investors confirmed for next week. They're very excited about the expansion proposal." "Perfect. Book the private jet for Tuesday." "Will do." "And Sarah, your sister's an idiot." After hanging up, I checked Facebook again. Jennifer had posted a throwback photo of us at her wedding, where I'd been her maid of honor. TBT to when we were both young and hopeful. I found my prince at 19. Sarah's still waiting for hers at 35. Starting to think she scared them all away with her independence #toughlove #reality check. The comments section was a masterclass in small-town gossip. I heard she never got over her college boyfriend. My daughter saw her at Whole Foods buying wine for one. So sad. She probably intimidates men with all that career talk. Some women just aren't meant for marriage. I screenshotted everything. Not for legal reasons, Jennifer wasn't worth suing, but for my own personal archive of exactly who these people were. Then I made a decision. I composed a single comment under her original post. "Hey Jen, just saw this. You're right. I am at a lawyer's office today, signing some papers. Hope you and Blake are well." Within minutes, my phone exploded. Jennifer called 6 times in a row. I let it go to voicemail each time. Her texts came in rapid fire. "What papers?" "Sarah, answer me. Mom says you're not returning her calls either." "What kind of papers? Are you in trouble?" "This isn't funny." "Sarah." I muted the conversation and went about my day. Meetings with my development team, lunch with potential investors, a conference call with our Hong Kong office. Real life, not Facebook life. By evening, Jennifer had shifted tactics. A new post appeared. Update: Sarah finally responded but won't say what legal papers she was signing. Now I'm worried. What if she's in serious trouble? Despite our differences, she's still my sister. Please pray for her. The pivot from mockery to concern was almost impressive. She'd sensed a story beyond her control and was trying to wrestle back the narrative. I posted my second and final comment. "No trouble, all good news. Thanks for the prayers though." This drove her absolutely insane. The calls intensified. Texts from random relatives flooded in. Everyone wanted to know what papers, what news, what was happening in Sarah's mysterious life. I maintained radio silence for 3 days, during which Jennifer's posts grew increasingly frantic. Day 2, Sarah still won't tell us what's happening. Family is worried sick. Day 3, starting to think something major is going on. Sarah has never been this secretive. Please someone in NYC check on my sister. She's gone dark and we're terrified. Meanwhile, I closed the 3 deals, finalized the acquisition, and booked a celebration dinner with my team at 11 Madison Park. Life was good when you lived it instead of performing it. Finally, on day 4, the news broke. Not through me, I still hadn't said a word, but through TechCrunch, who'd gotten wind of the acquisition. Breaking: stealth mode cybersecurity startup Nova SEC acquired by tech giant for $15 million. Founder Sarah Morrison maintains majority stake in parent company valued at $30 million plus. The article included my professional headshot and a brief bio that mentioned my other ventures. Within an hour, it was trending in tech circles. That's when Jennifer's phone call stopped. Instead, a new post appeared. No cursive font this time, no emojis, just plain text. "Why didn't you tell us you own tech companies?" I waited exactly 1 hour, enough time for all our mutual connections to see her question, then posted my reply. "You never asked." The internet exploded. Screenshots of the exchange went viral on Twitter. "You never asked" became a meme. Someone made a TikTok dramatizing the entire saga. Reddit had a field day analyzing the family dynamics. But the best part was the silence from Jennifer's end. No more posts, no more updates, no more commentary on her loser sister's sad single life. Others filled the void though. Wait, the Sarah Morrison from Nova SEC is Jennifer's sister? I took her cybersecurity seminar last year. She's brilliant, 35, single, and worth $30 million? Goals AF. Jennifer deleted all her posts. She hadn't deleted them, I'd checked, but she had locked down her profile, hidden from anyone not on her friends list. The mommy blogger who lived for public validation had suddenly discovered privacy. A week later, my phone rang. Jennifer. Sarah. Hey, Jen. I owe you an apology. Do you? I shouldn't have posted that. It was cruel. Which part? The original post calling me a loser? The updates mocking my single status? Or the performance of concern when you sensed a story? Silence. I didn't know that I was rich? Would it have mattered if I wasn't? Would I have deserved basic respect if I was just a single 35-year-old woman working a regular job? That's not. I didn't mean. Yes, you did. You meant every word. You just didn't expect consequences. Sarah, please, we're sisters. We share DNA. That's about it. You've spent years using me as a punchline to make yourself feel better about your choices. That ends now. Are you cutting me off? Because of one Facebook post? I'm establishing boundaries. You want a relationship? Earn it. Start by examining why you felt entitled to humiliate me publicly for existing differently than you. Okay, I understand. Can I ask one thing? What? Were you ever actually single? Or was that a lie too? I thought about Richard, about our quiet arrangement, about the marriage that looked perfect from the outside but was a business partnership at its core, about the divorce papers that freed us both to find something real. I was married for 5 years. We divorced amicably. The papers I was signing? Protecting my assets in the settlement. Turned out I didn't need protection. He wanted nothing from me. But you assumed lawsuit because that fit your narrative better. Why didn't you tell anyone you were married? Because it was none of your business. Because I don't owe anyone a performance of my personal life. Because I learned long ago that this family weaponizes information. That's not fair. Blake borrowed $50,000 from mom and dad. Never paid it back. You told everyone it was for a restaurant. But it was to cover his gambling debts. Tom's bankruptcy? Both times were from failed pyramid schemes, not real estate. Should I continue? Silence again. We all have our secrets, Jen. The difference is, I don't broadcast yours on Facebook for likes. After we hung up, I sat in my Brooklyn apartment, looking out at the city lights. My phone buzzed with congratulations from real friends, interview requests from tech publications, investment opportunities from venture capitalists who'd discovered I existed. None of it mattered as much as the freedom I felt. No more hiding. No more pretending to be less than I was to make others comfortable. No more allowing family to define my worth by their limited metrics. I opened my laptop and started writing a blog post. Not about Jennifer, she'd had enough attention. But about the price of success for women who refuse to shrink themselves. About the families who'd rather see us fail conventionally than succeed unconventionally. About the freedom that comes from building your own life, even if others call it lonely. The title came easily. You never asked. A tech founder's guide to setting boundaries. Within 24 hours, it had 1 million views. Women from around the world shared their own stories of being diminished, dismissed, or defined by families who never bothered to actually see them. Jennifer never apologized publicly, but at the next family gathering, she introduced me differently. This is my sister Sarah. She runs tech companies. It wasn't much, but it was a start. And when someone asked if I was dating anyone, I smiled and said, "You never asked the right question." What's the right question? Am I happy? Are you? Deliriously. And that, more than any Facebook post or viral moment or $1 million deal, was the truth that mattered. Single at 35? No. Free at 35? Absolutely. Worth $30 million? Yes. Worth respecting regardless? Always was. Some lessons are expensive. Others are priceless. Learning the difference? That's worth everything.
The sound of forks scraping against plates filled the heavy silence of our family dinner. 2 weeks after Luke's funeral, and already I could feel the vultures circling. I caught Thea's sideways glance as she leaned closer to Jameson, whispering something that made him nod with practiced sympathy. My name is Genesis, and I never thought I'd be sitting at my own dining table feeling like an outsider. Luke and I hosted these family dinners for 30 years. But tonight, everything felt different. The familiar scent of my pot roast couldn't mask the stench of ulterior motives. "Genesis, dear," Thea's voice cut through my thoughts, saccharine sweet. "Have you given any thought to what we discussed last week, about downsizing?" I set down my fork, meeting her gaze. "No, Thea, this is my home. We're just concerned," Jameson chimed in, dabbing his mouth with a napkin. "Living alone in such a big house at your age? I'm 55, not 85, I replied, forcing a smile. And I'm not alone. Athena helps me maintain the place. Athena, my caretaker, looked up from her plate, offering a supportive smile. She was young, but her presence had become a comfort since Luke's passing. About that, Thea continued, sharing another meaningful look with Jameson. We've been thinking it might be more practical to consider one of those lovely retirement communities. The one near us has excellent facilities. My stepson Ira shifted uncomfortably in his chair. His girlfriend Olive squeezed his hand under the table, a gesture I wasn't meant to see. Luke wanted me to stay here, I said firmly. This was our dream home. Luke would want what's best for you, Thea pressed, her voice dripping with false concern. And managing such a large property alone, it's not practical. I'm managing just fine, I insisted, standing to clear the plates. Athena moved to help, but I waved her off. I needed a moment alone in the kitchen. As I loaded the dishwasher, voices drifted in from the dining room. I moved closer to the door, my heart pounding as I caught fragments of their conversation. Needs to be handled delicately, Thea was saying. We can't just— The sooner the better, Jameson replied in a low voice, before she gets too settled in the idea of staying. Dad wouldn't have wanted this, Ira's voice, barely above a whisper. Your father wasn't thinking clearly near the end, Thea snapped. We're doing what's best for everyone. I gripped the counter, my knuckles turning white. Luke had been perfectly clear-minded when he made me promise to keep our home, to never let anyone pressure me into leaving. This is your sanctuary, he'd said, holding my hand during those final days. Don't let anyone take it from you. Bethany, my best friend, had warned me about this. Watch your back, she'd said at the funeral. Family can turn faster than milk in summer heat. I returned to the dining room with coffee and the apple pie Luke always loved. Conversation stopped abruptly, replaced by overly bright smiles. Genesis, Kayla, my niece, spoke up for the first time that evening. Would you like me to come by tomorrow? Help you sort through some of Uncle Luke's things? Before I could answer, Thea interrupted. Oh, we can help with that. No need to trouble yourself, Kayla. I'd love your help, Kayla, I said pointedly. Come by around 10? The rest of the evening passed in a blur of meaningful glances and veiled suggestions. As everyone prepared to leave, Thea hung back, placing a hand on my arm. We're family, Genesis. We only want what's best for you. I looked into her eyes, seeing the calculation behind the concern. I know exactly what you want, Thea. She stiffened slightly before recovering her smile. Get some rest, dear. We'll talk more soon. After they left, I sat in Luke's favorite armchair, running my fingers over the worn fabric. The house felt different now, filled with shadows of whispered conspiracies and hidden agendas. Athena appeared with a cup of tea. Ms. Genesis, are you all right? They're planning something, Athena. They want my home. She hesitated before speaking. I've noticed things. Papers on Mr. Jameson's desk when I served him coffee last week. Something about property values. I took the tea, my hand steady despite the anger building inside me. Luke knew this might happen. That's why he made sure everything was in my name. But looking at the family photos on the wall, I wondered if his siblings knew that. And more importantly, I wondered what they were willing to do to get what they wanted. They think I'm just a grieving widow they can push around, I murmured, more to myself than Athena. They're about to learn how wrong they are. The morning after that tense dinner, I was sorting through Luke's old files when Kayla arrived. Her presence brought a warmth to the house that had been missing since the funeral. Found anything interesting? She asked, settling beside me on the floor of Luke's study. Just memories, I said, holding up an old photograph of Luke and me at our wedding. And some concerning documents. What kind of documents? I pulled out a folder I'd discovered earlier. Medical evaluations. Recent ones. But I never had these tests done. Kayla's eyes widened as she scanned the papers. These are dated last month. It says you're showing signs of cognitive decline? Exactly. And look who ordered them. I pointed to the referring physician's name. Dr. Harrison? Isn't that Aunt Thea's golf buddy? Before I could respond, we heard footsteps in the hallway. Athena appeared in the doorway, looking uncomfortable. Ms. Genesis? Mr. Jameson is here. He says he needs to discuss some urgent family business. I quickly slid the folder under some others. Send him in. Jameson entered, his usual confident stride betraying a hint of nervousness. Genesis, I hope I'm not interrupting anything important. Just catching up with Kayla, I said, gesturing to the scattered papers. Going through Luke's things. His eyes darted around the study. Actually, that's partly why I'm here. There are some documents we need to locate. Insurance papers, property deeds, that sort of thing. Everything's in order, I assured him. Luke was very thorough. Yes, well, he cleared his throat. Thea and I would feel better if we could review them. Make sure everything's properly arranged. Kayla stood up, crossing her arms. Why wouldn't it be properly arranged, Uncle Jameson? He shot her a sharp look. Family looking out for family, that's all. Genesis has been through so much. I appreciate the concern, I said, standing as well. But I'm handling it. Just then, Athena appeared again. Ms. Genesis, there's someone at the door. Says they're here about the property assessment? Jameson's face reddened. I'll handle that, he said quickly, heading for the door. No, I called after him. I'll handle it. This is my house after all. In the foyer, a woman in a business suit was waiting. Mrs. Stout, I'm Rachel from Cornerstone Realty. I'm here about the property evaluation requested by my sister-in-law, I finished, watching Jameson squirm. I'm afraid there's been a misunderstanding. This house isn't for sale. Oh. She looked confused, checking her tablet. I have paperwork here indicating. Whatever you have is unauthorized, I said firmly. I own this property, and I haven't requested any evaluations. After the realtor left, Jameson tried to explain. We just wanted to know the current market value, for tax purposes. Get out, I said quietly, and tell Thea to stop whatever game she's playing. Once he was gone, Kayla hugged me. You know what they're trying to do, right? They think the house is still in Luke's name, I said. They don't know he transferred everything to me before he died. Ms. Genesis? Athena's voice was hesitant. There's something you should know. Last week, while cleaning Mr. Jameson's study during the family lunch, I found some papers. One was labeled Petition for Guardianship. My blood ran cold. They're trying to declare me incompetent. I took pictures with my phone, Athena admitted. I knew something wasn't right. Kayla grabbed my hand. We need to call Bethany. She's a lawyer. She'll know what to do. I nodded, but my mind was already racing ahead. The medical evaluations, the property assessment, the guardianship petition. They were building a case to take everything from me. There's more, Athena said. I overheard Ms. Thea on the phone yesterday. She mentioned something about an emergency family meeting next week. Said it was time to handle the situation. I walked to Luke's desk and opened the bottom drawer, pulling out a sealed envelope he'd given me months ago. Time to handle it indeed. What's that? Kayla asked. Insurance, I replied, breaking the seal. Luke knew his siblings better than they thought. He left me everything I need to fight back. Inside were documents, photos, and a USB drive. Evidence of past schemes, failed business dealings, and family secrets Thea and Jameson would rather keep buried. They want to play dirty? I said, spreading the contents on the desk. Let's show them how it's done. Kayla and Athena exchanged looks, and I saw something new in their eyes. Not pity for the grieving widow, but respect for a woman ready to fight back. First, I said, reaching for my phone, let's call Bethany. Then we're going to plan our own little family meeting. Bethany's office smelled of coffee and determination. She spread the documents across her desk, her lawyer's eyes scanning every detail while I sat across from her, gripping my cup of coffee so tight I thought it might shatter. This is serious, Genesis, she said, holding up the guardianship petition. They're not just trying to take your house. They're trying to take your autonomy. Can they do it? Kayla asked from the chair beside me. Bethany shook her head. Not with what Luke left you. But we need to be smart about this. They're building a paper trail to make you look incompetent. Show her the USB drive, Kayla urged. I pulled out the small device Luke had left behind. Bethany plugged it into her computer, and her eyes widened as she scrolled through the files. Well, well, she murmured. Looks like Thea and Jameson have been busy. Failed real estate schemes, questionable investments, tax discrepancies. Luke kept everything, I explained. He said it might come in handy someday. A knock at the door made us all jump. Bethany's assistant poked her head in. Ms. Genesis, your stepson Ira is here. Says it's urgent. I exchanged looks with Kayla before nodding. Send him in. Ira entered, looking uncomfortable in his business suit. His girlfriend Olive followed, her hand protectively on his arm. Genesis, we need to talk, he said, running a hand through his hair. Aunt Thea called a family meeting for tomorrow night. They're going to try to force me into assisted living, I finished. Declare me incompetent? He blinked. How did you? Your father warned me this might happen, I said softly. He knew his siblings better than they knew themselves. Olive stepped forward. Ira's been struggling with this. He knows what they're doing is wrong. They said it was for your own good, Ira blurted out. That you're not coping well, that the house is too much. But I've seen the documents they're using. The medical evaluations are fake. Bethany leaned forward. Would you be willing to testify to that? Ira looked at Olive, who nodded encouragingly. Yes. Dad would never forgive me if I let them do this to you. My phone buzzed. A text from Athena. Ms. Thea just showed up at the house with some men. They're going through papers in the study. They're searching my house. I stood up, anger replacing fear. Like common thieves? They're looking for the deed, Ira explained. They don't know Dad transferred everything to you. Genesis. Bethany's voice was sharp. Don't confront them, not yet. Let them think they're winning. The family meeting tomorrow, Kayla said suddenly. That's when they're planning to spring everything on you. The medical reports, the guardianship petition. Then that's when we'll spring our trap, I replied. Bethany, can you have everything ready by then? She nodded, already reaching for her phone. I'll have the injunction prepared, along with documentation of their fraudulent activities. But Genesis, are you sure you want to go nuclear? They're still family. Family doesn't try to steal your home and freedom, I said firmly. Luke protected me from them one last time by leaving me these documents. I'm going to use them. Ira shifted uncomfortably. Aunt Thea's been calling all the relatives, telling them you're not mentally stable. Some believe her. Let them, I said. Tomorrow night, everyone will know the truth. We spent the next hour planning. Bethany prepared legal documents, while Kayla coordinated with Athena to document everything happening at the house. Ira provided details about Thea and Jameson's plans, his loyalty to his father's wishes finally outweighing family pressure. As we were leaving, Olive pulled me aside. Genesis, there's something else you should know. Thea's been promising pieces of your house to different family members. The antique furniture to Cousin Sarah, the art collection to Uncle Robert. Dividing up my possessions before they've even taken them, I said bitterly. How thoughtful of her. Back at home, I found Athena waiting anxiously. The study was a mess, drawers left open, papers scattered. They left when they couldn't find what they were looking for, she reported. Ms. Thea seemed angry. I picked up a framed photo of Luke that they'd knocked over. Tomorrow night, they'll be more than angry. They'll be exposed. Ms. Genesis? Athena hesitated. Whatever happens tomorrow, I want you to know I'm on your side. What they're doing, it's not right. I squeezed her hand, grateful for another ally in this fight. As night fell, I sat in Luke's chair, looking at the home we'd built together. Tomorrow, his siblings would try to take it all away. But Luke had given me everything I needed to fight back. They think I'm a helpless widow, I whispered to his photo. Time to show them how wrong they are. The day before the family meeting, I decided to do some investigating of my own. Thea's real estate office was quiet when I walked in, claiming I needed to discuss a property listing. The receptionist, recognizing me as family, waved me straight through. Genesis! Thea's surprise was poorly masked by her fake smile. "What brings you here?" "Just wanted to talk," I said, settling into a chair across from her desk. "About the house." Her eyes lit up like a shark spotting blood in the water. "Oh, have you been considering our suggestions?" "Actually, I've been thinking about what Luke would want." I watched her carefully. "He always said family should stick together." "Exactly!" Thea leaned forward eagerly. "That's what we've been saying, and the retirement community near us." A knock interrupted her. Jameson burst in, freezing when he saw me. "Genesis, I didn't expect—" "Join us," I said pleasantly. "We're discussing family matters." He shared a look with Thea before sitting down. I noticed him trying to subtly close his laptop, but not before I glimpsed an email with my name in the subject line. "I found some interesting papers in Luke's study," I mentioned casually. "Medical evaluations I don't remember having." "Memory issues are exactly what we're concerned about," Thea said smoothly. "These things can creep up slowly." "Funny thing about memories," I replied. "I clearly remember Dr. Harrison playing golf with you last month, Thea. The same doctor who supposedly evaluated me." The siblings exchanged another glance. Jameson cleared his throat. "Genesis, we're only trying to help." "Like you helped Luke with the Riverside Development Project?" They both stiffened. That project had been their biggest failure, and their darkest secret. "I don't know what you're talking about," Thea said sharply. My phone buzzed. A text from Kayla. "Found more documents in Jameson's car. Photos attached." "I should go." I stood up. "But I'll see you both tomorrow night. I'm looking forward to our family discussion." "Genesis," Thea called as I reached the door. "Be careful. Sometimes people who dig too deep get buried in what they find." I turned back, meeting her gaze. "Is that a threat, Thea?" "A friendly warning. From family." Outside, I called Bethany immediately. "They're getting nervous. Thea just threatened me." "Perfect," Bethany replied. "Did you plant the bug?" I smiled, remembering the tiny recording device I'd dropped behind Thea's desk. "It's done. Let's see what they say when they think I'm gone." Back home, Athena was waiting with news. "Ms. Genesis, while you were out, Mr. Jameson's assistant came by. She was supposed to deliver some papers, but she gave them to me by mistake." She handed me a thick envelope. Inside were more fraudulent medical reports and a draft of the guardianship petition, complete with forged signatures from family members. "They're getting sloppy," I muttered. "Making mistakes." My phone rang. It was Ira. "Genesis, you need to hear this. I just overheard Aunt Thea on the phone with her lawyer. They're planning to have you committed if you resist tomorrow night." "Committed?" My hand tightened on the phone. "They can't do that. They've got a doctor on standby. They're saying it's for a psychiatric evaluation, but really, it's to get me out of the way while they take everything," I finished. "Thank you, Ira. Are you still with us for tomorrow?" "All the way," he promised. Olive and I both. Later that evening, Kayla came over with the recording from the bug. We sat in the kitchen, listening to Thea and Jameson's conversation after I'd left. "She knows something," Thea's voice crackled through the speaker. "About Riverside." "Impossible," Jameson replied. "Those records were destroyed. Luke must have kept copies. We need to move faster, once we get control of the house." "And Genesis?" "The doctor will handle that. A few weeks in observation, and no judge will question the guardianship petition." I stopped the recording, my hands shaking with anger. "They were going to have me locked up." "Not anymore," Kayla said firmly. "We've got them, Genesis. All of it. The fake medical reports, the forged signatures, the Riverside evidence. Tomorrow night, it all comes out." Athena brought us tea, her young face serious. "Ms. Genesis, whatever happens tomorrow, you're not alone." I looked around my kitchen, at Kayla's determined expression, at Athena's loyal support, at the house Luke and I had filled with love for 30 years. Tomorrow, his siblings would try to take it all away. But they'd forgotten something crucial. A woman protecting her home is more dangerous than any predator. "No," I agreed. "I'm not alone." And after tomorrow night, Thea and Jameson will wish they'd remembered that. The morning of the family meeting, Athena rushed into my bedroom, her face pale. "Ms. Genesis, you need to see this." She handed me her phone, showing a group text from Thea to the extended family. Deeply concerned about Genesis's mental state. She's becoming paranoid, making accusations. Please come early to discuss intervention options. "They're trying to stack the deck," I said, getting dressed quickly. "How many responses?" Most of the family is arriving 2 hours early. Only Kayla, Ira, and Olive declined. My phone rang. It was Bethany. "Genesis, we have a problem. Thea's filed an emergency petition for temporary guardianship. They're trying to fast-track it before tonight's meeting. Can they do that?" "Not if we move first. I'm heading to the courthouse now. Don't let anyone in the house until I call back." Barely an hour later, someone knocked on my front door. Through the security camera, I saw Thea standing there with a man in a suit. "Genesis?" she called out. "This is Dr. Peters. We're worried about you, dear. Please let us in." I pressed the intercom. "Not without my lawyer present." "See?" Thea's voice dripped with concern. "This paranoid behavior is exactly what we're worried about. Doctor, please note her refusal to cooperate." "I'm noting your harassment," I replied, "and the security cameras are noting it too." They left after 15 minutes of trying, but I knew they'd be back. I called Kayla. "They're at the courthouse," she reported. "Bethany's handling it. How are you holding up?" "I'm fine, but—" I stopped as Athena rushed in again. "Ms. Genesis, Ms. Thea's assistant just called. She wants to help us." "Put her on speaker," I told Athena, with Kayla still listening on my phone. "Hello?" A nervous voice came through. "I'm Sandra, Ms. Thea's assistant. I've been gathering evidence for months. The forged documents, the fake medical reports. I have copies of everything." "Why help us now?" I asked. "Because they're planning to blame me if things go wrong. I heard them this morning. I'm supposed to be their scapegoat." "Sandra," I said carefully, "would you be willing to testify to this?" "Yes. I'm tired of their schemes. I'll bring everything to your house now." An hour later, Sandra arrived with a thick folder. The evidence was damning. Emails discussing the fake medical reports, drafts of the forged documents, even recordings of Thea and Jameson planning the whole thing. My phone rang again. Bethany this time. "We won at the courthouse. The judge threw out their emergency petition and issued a restraining order. They can't come within 100 feet of you until after a formal hearing." "Perfect timing," I said. "We just got a treasure trove of evidence from Thea's assistant." "Even better. I'm on my way over. We need to prepare for tonight." The afternoon passed in a flurry of activity. Bethany and Kayla helped me organize the evidence, while Athena and Sandra prepared the dining room for the meeting. Ira and Olive arrived early, bringing more allies, cousins who'd refused to believe Thea's lies. "Aunt Thea's furious about the restraining order," Ira reported. "She's telling everyone it proves you're using legal tricks to hide your mental state." "Let her dig her hole deeper," Bethany said, sorting papers. "Every accusation she makes will look worse when the truth comes out." At 6 o'clock, my security system alerted me to cars pulling up. Through the cameras, I watched family members arriving in groups, their faces concerned and confused. Thea and Jameson stood at the legal distance, directing people toward the house. "Ready?" Kayla squeezed my hand. I looked around at my support team. Bethany with her legal documents, Athena and Sandra with their evidence, Ira and Olive with their loyalty, and Kayla with her unwavering support. "More than ready," I replied. "Let's show them what happens when you try to steal a widow's home." The doorbell rang. Through the camera, I saw Uncle Robert, Aunt Marie, and various cousins huddled on my porch, looking uncertain. "Ms. Genesis?" Athena's voice was strong and clear. "It's time." I straightened my shoulders and headed for the door. Behind me, Bethany arranged the evidence on the dining room table. Through the window, I could see Thea and Jameson watching from their legally mandated distance, probably thinking they had the upper hand. "They have no idea what's coming," Kayla whispered. "No," I agreed, reaching for the door handle. "But they're about to find out." I opened the door to face my family. ready to expose the truth and fight for everything Luke and I had built together. The real show was about to begin, and I had front row seats to my in-laws' downfall. The family filed into my dining room, their whispers echoing off the walls. Uncle Robert immediately took charge, his voice carrying that same condescending tone Thea had perfected. "Genesis, we're here because we're concerned," he began, standing at the head of my table like he owned it. "Thea and Jameson have shared some disturbing information." "About my mental state?" I interrupted, remaining seated. "Or about my supposed inability to manage my own home?" "Now, dear," Aunt Marie chimed in, "there's no need to be defensive. We're here to help." Bethany cleared her throat. "As Genesis's attorney, I should inform everyone that this meeting is being recorded." "Attorney?" Uncle Robert's eyebrows shot up. "This is a family matter?" "It became a legal matter," I said, "when Thea and Jameson tried to file an emergency guardianship petition this morning." Murmurs rippled through the room. Cousin Sarah spoke up. "They said you were becoming unstable, making wild accusations. Like these?" I nodded to Athena, who started distributing copies of the forged medical reports. "Or perhaps you'd like to see these?" Sandra began passing out emails showing Thea and Jameson's plans. "What is this?" Uncle Robert demanded, scanning the documents. "Evidence," Bethany stated flatly, "of conspiracy, fraud, and attempted elder abuse." The room erupted in confused chatter. Through the window, I could see Thea and Jameson pacing at their court-mandated distance. "That's not possible," Aunt Marie protested. "Thea showed us evaluations from Dr. Harrison." "Who happens to be her golf partner?" Kayla cut in. "And who, when contacted by our investigator, confirmed he never examined Genesis." Ira stood up. "It's true. I've seen them fabricating these documents. They planned to have Genesis committed so they could seize control of the house. The house that, by the way," Bethany added, "is legally mine." I pulled out Luke's final property deed, transferred to me 6 months before his death, with all the proper documentation. Uncle Robert grabbed the deed, his face reddening. "This can't be right. Luke would never—" "Luke knew exactly what his siblings were capable of," I said quietly. "Just like he knew about the Riverside development scandal." The room went deadly silent. Even Uncle Robert paled. "How did you—" he started. "Luke kept records," I continued, "of everything. The investors they defrauded, the environmental regulations they violated, the money they embezzled." Sandra stepped forward, her voice shaking. "I have copies of all the transactions. They plan to use the profits from selling this house to pay back their debts." Cousin Sarah stood up abruptly. "Is this true? They promised me the antique furniture if I supported the guardianship petition. They promised me the art collection," another cousin admitted. "They were dividing up my home before they even had it," I said, "using all of you as pawns in their game." Bethany laid out more documents. "We have evidence of at least 6 different attempts to forge Genesis's signature, 3 fabricated medical evaluations, and dozens of emails discussing their plans to have her forcibly committed." The family's shock turned to anger. Not at me, but at Thea and Jameson. Through the window, I could see them realizing something was wrong, as relatives began shooting them furious looks. "There's more," Ira added. "They've been using family investments to cover their debts for years. Check your accounts, especially the trust funds they manage." Phones came out immediately. The room filled with gasps and cursing as people discovered the truth. "I trusted them with my children's college fund," Aunt Marie whispered. Uncle Robert was already dialing his bank. Others were texting Thea and Jameson, demanding explanations. "Genesis?" Cousin Sarah approached me, tears in her eyes. "We had no idea. They told us you were sick, that you needed help." "They counted on family loyalty to blind you," I said gently. "Just like they counted on me being too grief-stricken to fight back." Bethany stood up. "I've prepared criminal complaints and civil suits. Anyone who's lost money to their schemes can join the legal action." A line formed at Bethany's end of the table as relatives rushed to add their names to the complaints. Through the window, I watched Thea and Jameson finally realize their game was up. They hurried to their car as family members began storming out to confront them. Should we stop them? Kayla asked, watching them speed away. No need, Bethany smiled. The police are waiting at their homes with search warrants. This isn't just about saving your house anymore, Genesis. This is about justice for everyone they've hurt. I looked around my dining room, at the family members hugging and apologizing, at my team of supporters standing proud, at the home Luke had protected for me one last time. Justice, I agreed, and truth. It's all I ever wanted. The next morning's headlines screamed, "Local real estate moguls arrested in fraud scheme." My phone hadn't stopped buzzing since dawn, with calls from family members and reporters. Turn on the news! Kayla burst through my front door, still in her pajamas. They're doing the perp walk! Sure enough, there were Thea and Jameson, being led out of their homes in handcuffs. Their perfectly manicured appearances had crumbled, Thea's hair disheveled, Jameson's expensive suit wrinkled. Genesis! Bethany's voice came through my speakerphone. The DA wants to meet with you today. They've found evidence of even more crimes during the searches. How much money did they steal? I asked. Initial estimates are over $2 million from family members alone. The Riverside development fraud could triple that number. Athena brought in coffee as we watched the coverage. The reporter was interviewing Uncle Robert outside the police station. We trusted them, he said on screen, his face red with anger. They nearly convinced us to help them destroy an innocent woman's life to cover their crimes. The doorbell rang. Ira and Olive stood there with Sandra, all looking exhausted but relieved. The police interviewed me all night, Sandra said, collapsing onto my couch. I gave them everything, every email, every forged document, every recording. You were brave to come forward, I told her. I should have done it sooner. The things they were planning, she shuddered. They wanted to have you committed for months while they liquidated everything you own. My phone rang again. Aunt Marie this time. Genesis, I'm so sorry. We should have seen through their lies. They took advantage of our grief over Luke. They took advantage of everyone, I assured her. But it's over now. The morning passed in a blur of police statements and family visits. Around noon, Bethany arrived with more news. The DA is offering them a deal, she announced, but they have to make full restitution to everyone they defrauded. They'll have to sell everything, Ira said. Their houses, cars, investments. Good, Kayla declared. Let them know how it feels to lose their homes. The television showed Thea and Jameson's booking photos, while a reporter detailed their schemes. Sources say the siblings targeted their own family members, using their positions of trust to embezzle millions. Their sister-in-law's resistance to their final scheme led to their downfall. Ms. Genesis? Athena called from the kitchen. More family members are here. Cousin Sarah led a group into my living room, carrying boxes and bags. We're returning everything we took yesterday, she explained. The things Thea told us to secure during the meeting. I hadn't even noticed items missing in the chaos. They unpacked Luke's rare books, family photos, even his prized golf clubs. We were wrong, Sarah continued, tears in her eyes. So wrong. Can you ever forgive us? Before I could answer, Bethany's phone buzzed. Her eyes widened as she read the message. They're not taking the deal, she announced. Thea and Jameson are claiming everything was Luke's idea, that he set up the fraudulent schemes and they were just following his instructions. What? Ira jumped up. They're trying to blame Dad? It won't work, Bethany said firmly. We have dated documents proving the schemes started after Luke's death, plus Sandra's testimony and the recordings. They're desperate, I realized, trying to salvage their reputations by destroying Luke's. Well, they've lost their last ally, Uncle Robert declared from the doorway. We hadn't heard him arrive. The country club board just voted to revoke their memberships, unanimously. For Thea and Jameson, that would hurt worse than jail time. My phone lit up with a text from an unknown number. It was a photo of Luke and me at our wedding, with a message. You'll regret this. Family secrets should stay secret. I showed it to Bethany, who immediately called the DA. Add witness intimidation to the charges. They still think they can scare me, I said, looking around at my support system. Kayla, Ira, Olive, Athena, Sandra, and the family members who'd finally seen the truth. They don't understand that I'm not alone anymore. Ah, speaking of not being alone, Bethany said, checking her phone again. The DA wants to know if you'll speak at their arraignment tomorrow. Show the judge that the person they tried to declare incompetent is fully capable of testifying against them. I thought of Luke, of our home, of everything we'd built together. Yes, I said firmly. It's time they faced someone they can't intimidate or manipulate. They wanted your house, Kayla said, hugging me. Instead, they lost everything. Not everything, I corrected her, looking at our gathered family. They lost something far more valuable than money or property. They lost our trust, and they're never getting that back. The courtroom fell silent as I approached the podium. Thea and Jameson sat with their expensive lawyers, their designer outfits replaced by drab clothing that somehow made them look smaller, diminished. Mrs. Stout, the judge said kindly, please share your statement with the court. I unfolded my prepared notes but set them aside. Instead, I looked directly at my former in-laws. I thought about coming here with anger, I began, about listing every scheme, every lie, every betrayal. But that's not what Luke would want. Thea flinched at her brother's name. Jameson stared at his hands. Instead, I want to talk about legacy. Luke believed in building things that last. Homes, relationships, trust. While you were plotting to take my home, I was planning its future. I turned to address the judge. Your Honor, I'm converting my house into a women's shelter and resource center, a place where vulnerable people can find safety and support, just like I found support when I needed it most. Murmurs rippled through the courtroom. Kayla squeezed Athena's hand in the front row, both of them beaming. The money they stole from our family, I continued. Every penny they repay will go toward funding this shelter. Their greed will become someone else's sanctuary. Objection! Thea's lawyer stood. This is inflammatory. Overruled, the judge cut in. Continue, Mrs. Stout. Thea, Jameson, I addressed them directly. You thought I was a grieving widow you could easily destroy. You were wrong. Luke didn't just leave me a house. He left me the strength to defend it, and the wisdom to use it for something greater than myself. Bethany stood up next to me, handling the formal part. Your Honor, we've submitted the paperwork establishing the Luke Stout Memorial Foundation. All restitution payments will go directly to funding the shelter's operations. The judge nodded approvingly. Given the defendants' rejection of the plea deal and their subsequent attempts to defame their deceased brother, I'm inclined to impose the maximum sentence. Thea finally broke her silence. Genesis, please! We're family! So, family? I turned to her. Family doesn't plot to have someone committed. Family doesn't forge medical documents or steal trust funds. Family builds each other up. They don't tear each other down. The judge cleared his throat. Thea and Jameson, please rise for sentencing. They stood, trembling. The judge's voice was stern as he handed down their punishment. 7 years in prison, full restitution to all victims, and permanent bars from working in real estate or financial services. As they were led away, Ira approached me with Olive. Dad would be proud, he said softly, both of how you fought back and what you're doing with the house. Outside the courthouse, reporters clustered with cameras and microphones. But it was Sandra who spoke first, standing with other victims of Thea and Jameson's schemes. We're all contributing to the shelter, she announced. Every penny they repay us will help other people rebuild their lives. Uncle Robert stepped forward. The family's establishing a scholarship fund, too, for women seeking legal or financial education. We want to prevent others from being victimized like we were. Back home, I found Athena directing volunteers who were helping convert the guest rooms into shelter spaces. Kayla was organizing donations of clothes and supplies that had poured in since the story broke. Ms. Genesis, Athena called out, come see what arrived. In Luke's study, now transformed into a counseling room, hung a new sign. The Luke Stout Memorial Foundation, turning houses into homes. survivors into warriors. Perfect timing, Bethany said, walking in with a stack of papers. The first 3 residents have been approved. They move in next week. I touched the sign gently, thinking of Luke. He'd always said our home had too much love for just 2 people. Now it would shelter dozens, giving them the same security and support he'd given me. Genesis! Kayla pointed out the window. A young woman stood hesitantly at our gate, clutching a small bag. I walked out to meet her. Can I help you? I saw the news, she said quietly. About what you're doing here. I need a safe place. Then you found one, I said, opening the gate. Welcome home. Behind us, the house seemed to glow in the afternoon light. Where Thea and Jameson had seen only profit, I saw purpose. Where they'd plotted destruction, I'd built hope. Come on, I said to our first unofficial resident. Let me show you around. This house has a way of healing broken things. Trust me, I know from experience. As we walked inside, I smiled at the irony. My in-laws had tried to take everything from me. Instead, they'd helped me find my true calling. Sometimes the best revenge isn't destroying your enemies. It's using their weapons to build something beautiful.
The envelope from my grandmother trembled in my hands as I stood in what used to be my bedroom. Now it was Zane's man cave, complete with a gaming setup that probably cost more than my entire semester's textbooks. The walls, once covered in my dance competition photos and honor roll certificates, were now bare, except for his collection of vintage movie posters. I'm Brooke, and this was supposed to be my triumphant return home for Christmas break after my first semester at college. Instead, I was standing in a stranger's room, feeling like an intruder in my own house. "Oh, honey, you're here," Mom's voice carried up the stairs. "Zane helped me set up the pull-out couch in the den for you." The pull-out couch. Perfect. "Thanks, Mom," I called back, trying to keep my voice steady. "Just getting something from the room." I slipped the envelope into my backpack and headed downstairs. Mom was in the kitchen, fussing over what looked like protein smoothie ingredients, probably for Zane's post-workout routine. "The scholarship's working out okay?" she asked, not looking up from the blender. "I saw your grades posted online. The B+ in chemistry was unexpected." "I got straight A's in everything else," I said, leaning against the counter. "And yeah, the scholarship's fine. I earned it, remember?" Mom finally looked up, her perfectly manicured eyebrows drawing together. "No need to be defensive, sweetie. I just want to make sure you're not struggling. Zane's been telling me about his business classes and—" "Mom," I cut her off. "Zane's taking community college classes part-time. I'm on a full ride at State." The front door opened, and speak of the devil, Zane walked in wearing designer workout gear. "Hey, favorite stepmom," he called out, giving Mom a side hug that made her beam. "And if it isn't my favorite stepsister, how's the Ivy League treating you?" "It's State University, Zane. You know that." He grinned, grabbing the smoothie Mom had just finished blending. "Same difference, right? Hey, thanks for letting me use your room, by the way. The lighting is perfect for my streaming setup." "Wasn't really my choice, was it?" "Brooke," Mom warned, but my phone buzzed with perfect timing. It was Noe, my roommate, and probably the only person who truly got me these days. "Need to take this," I said, stepping out onto the back porch. The December air bit at my cheeks, but it was better than staying in that kitchen. "Please tell me you're surviving," Noe said as soon as I answered. "They gave away my room." "No way." "Way. I'm sleeping on the pull-out couch while golden boy Zane gets my space." "The same Zane who supposedly makes bank with his entrepreneurial ventures but still lives at home?" I lowered my voice, glancing over my shoulder at the kitchen window. "Yeah, about that. I found something interesting. Remember how I told you about my grandmother's weird warnings about him? The ones your mom ignores? She just slipped me an envelope. I haven't opened it yet, but..." The porch door slid open. I quickly switched to talking about finals as Zane stepped out, phone in hand. "Sorry to interrupt," he said, not looking sorry at all. "But I need to make a call. Business stuff, you know how it is. Or maybe you don't." I rolled my eyes and went back inside, where Mom was preparing dinner. "Honey," she said, "while you're home, maybe Zane could give you some financial advice. He's doing so well with his investments. The envelope in my backpack seemed to burn through the fabric. Sure, Mom. Whatever you say. Later that night, curled up on the lumpy pull-out couch, I finally opened my grandmother's envelope. Inside was a handwritten note and what looked like bank statements. Dear Brooke, it read, sometimes the truth isn't what we want to see, but that doesn't make it any less real. Watch carefully. You'll know what to do when the time comes. Love, Grandma Eloise. I stared at the ceiling, listening to Zane's muffled voice through the floor above as he took another business call at midnight. The bank statements lay heavy on my chest, and for the first time since coming home, I felt a smile creep across my face. Maybe this Christmas wouldn't be so bad after all. Remember when Brooke used to win all those math competitions? My cousin Desiree asked during breakfast the next morning. That was so cool. Ancient history. Mom waved her hand dismissively. Zane's doing amazing things now. Did you see his new car? I stabbed my eggs with more force than necessary. The new car was a sleek BMW that appeared in our driveway last month. According to Mom, it was all thanks to Zane's successful investments. Speaking of cars, Zane chimed in, I'm thinking of upgrading again. There's this sweet Mercedes. How exactly do you afford all this? I interrupted, thinking about the bank statements hidden in my backpack. Must be some impressive business ventures. The room went quiet. Zane's smile flickered for just a second before returning full force. Hard work pays off, sis. Maybe I'll teach you sometime. I'd love to learn, I said sweetly. Maybe we could start with how you managed to buy a BMW while taking 2 classes at community college. Brooke! Mom's voice carried that familiar warning tone. Don't be rude to your brother. Stepbrother, I corrected, standing up. I need some air. I found myself walking the 3 blocks to Grandma Eloise's house, the way I used to when things got too heavy at home. She was in her garden, despite the December chill, pruning her winter roses. I was wondering when you'd show up, she said without turning around. Tea's already brewing inside. Her kitchen was warm and smelled like cinnamon. As she poured the tea, her eyes met mine. You saw the statements. Why didn't you show these to Mom? I asked. They prove he's been... Your mother sees what she wants to see, Grandma cut in. Just like she did with those dance recitals she missed, or the graduation speech she left early. The old hurt bubbled up. Because Zane had a baseball game that day. Grandma sipped her tea. Tell me about college. It's different. Good different. My roommate Noe, she's amazing. We stay up late talking about everything and nothing. Her family actually shows up for her performances. She's in theater. Sounds like you found your people. My phone buzzed. A text from Desiree. Zane just bought everyone lunch. Like $300 worth of sushi. Mom's wondering where he gets all this money, lol. He's getting bolder, Grandma observed, reading the text over my shoulder. Pride comes before the fall. I could show Mom the statements right now, I said. End this whole thing. You could, Grandma refilled my cup. But timing is everything, dear. Watch and wait. When I got home, Zane was showing off his new Apple Watch to our younger cousins. Early Christmas gift to myself, he bragged. Gotta treat yourself sometimes, right? Right, I echoed, thinking about my scholarship-funded laptop that took 3 years of perfect grades to earn. That evening, I called Noe. You won't believe this, I said. He bought a $300 lunch today, just because. With your mom's money? According to Grandma's statements, he's been transferring funds from Mom's accounts for months. Small amounts at first, but they're getting bigger. And your mom has no idea? She thinks he's some kind of business genius. Meanwhile, I had to fight for every dollar of my college fund. That's messed up, Noe said. What are you going to do? Before I could answer, I heard Zane's voice floating up from downstairs. He was talking to Mom. Really proud of how Brooke's doing at State, he was saying. Must be nice having everything handed to you on a scholarship. She worked hard for that, Mom replied, but her voice held none of the fierce defense she used when anyone questioned Zane. Of course, Zane said smoothly. Hey, I was thinking of starting a new investment venture. Would you mind if I pressed the phone closer to my ear. No? I think I know exactly what I'm going to do. What's the plan? Christmas dinner. The whole family will be there, including Grandma Eloise. You're going to expose him? I watched through the window as Zane got into his BMW, the one bought with stolen money, and drove off to wherever he really went during his business meetings. Let's just say, I smiled, I'm giving everyone an unexpected Christmas gift this year. The gift of truth? The gift of consequences. 3 days before Christmas, the house was buzzing with activity. Mom was decorating every surface with garland, while Zane supervised from the couch, scrolling through his phone. Hey, Mom, he called out. Quick question about that joint account we set up? I pretended to be absorbed in my book, but strained to hear every word. What about it, sweetie? Mom balanced on a stepladder, hanging ornaments. Just wondering if you got a notification about a transfer? Probably nothing, just some investment stuff. Oh, I don't check those anymore, Mom laughed. You're so much better with money than I am. I trust you completely. I caught Zane's satisfied smirk from the corner of my eye. My phone buzzed. A text from Grandma Eloise. Coming over, bring those papers we discussed. 20 minutes later, we sat in her car parked a block away, reviewing the evidence. Look at this pattern, Grandma pointed to the statements. He started with $500 here, then $1,000 there. Now he's up to $5,000 transfers. And Mom never checks? Your mother's always been selective about what she wants to see. Grandma's voice carried years of observation. Remember your 16th birthday? I did. Mom had forgotten about my driver's test because Zane had a college campus tour that day. I ended up taking the bus to the DMV alone. But this is different, I said. He's stealing from her. Is he? Grandma raised an eyebrow. Or is she giving him the attention and trust you always wanted? Before I could respond, my phone lit up with a call from Noe. You need to check Zane's Instagram, she said without greeting. Right now. I pulled up his profile and felt my blood boil. There he was, posing in front of a new gaming setup that looked suspiciously expensive. The caption read, Hard work pays off. Blessed to be making my own way in life. Entrepreneur, mark self-made. Self-made, I scoffed. More like mom-made. Keep scrolling, Noe urged. The next post showed him at a luxury car dealership. Big moves coming soon. Stay tuned for the next upgrade. He's planning something bigger, Grandma said, looking at the posts. Christmas is coming, and he'll want to make a show of his success. Back at home, I found Mom and Zane in the kitchen. He was showing her something on his laptop. See, the investment portfolio is doing great, he was saying. I could handle more capital if you're interested. Really make that money work for us. That sounds wonderful, Mom beamed. You're so good at this, Zane. I wish... She caught herself, but I knew what she was going to say. I wish Brooke had your financial sense. I wish Brooke was more like you. Later that night, I heard Zane on the phone in what used to be my room. Yeah, man, it's too easy, he was saying. She never checks the accounts. I'm telling you, by New Year's, I'll have enough for that Mercedes. No chance of getting caught. She trusts me completely. I recorded the conversation on my phone, hands shaking with anger and something else. Anticipation. My phone buzzed with a text from Desiree. Did you see Zane's Insta? Mom's asking why I can't be more successful like him. Then another from Noe. You okay? Remember, 2 more days until Operation Christmas Truth. I was about to reply when I heard Mom and Zane talking downstairs. I was thinking, Mom said, maybe we should put the house in your name too. For tax purposes, you know? You understand all that financial stuff so much better than I do. That's a great idea, Zane replied smoothly. We can talk to a lawyer after the holidays. Speaking of which, you're going to love your Christmas gift. Let's just say it's substantial. I texted Grandma. He's going after the house. Her reply came instantly. Time to accelerate the plan. Tomorrow night. Family dinner. Be ready. My heart raced as I thought about what was coming. All those years of being second best, of watching Mom shower Zane with the love and trust I'd never received, were about to come to an end. I opened my laptop and started compiling everything. Bank statements, recorded conversations, Instagram posts, text messages. Each piece of evidence another nail in the coffin of Zane's carefully constructed facade. Merry Christmas, Zane, I whispered to myself. Hope you're ready for your gift. The pre-Christmas family dinner was Mom's tradition, always held the night before Christmas Eve. As I helped her set the table, Zane breezed through the kitchen in designer clothes that probably cost more than my entire college wardrobe. "Need any help?" he asked, already heading for the door. "Actually," Mom began. "Sorry, got a quick business meeting. Back in time for dinner." The door slammed behind him. "He works so hard," Mom sighed proudly. "Oh, that reminds me. Brooke, could you use the regular plates? Let's save the good china for tomorrow when Zane's giving his big announcement." My hand tightened around the stack of plates. What announcement? He wouldn't tell me exactly, but he said it's going to change everything. Isn't it exciting? I thought about the conversation I'd overheard about putting the house in his name. Yeah, really exciting. My phone buzzed with a text from No. "Ready for tonight?" Before I could respond, Grandma Eloise arrived early, carrying a thick manila envelope. "Just some old family photos," she said loudly, winking at me. "Thought we could look through them after dinner." We worked in the kitchen together while Mom went to change. "You're sure about this?" Grandma asked quietly. "Once it's done, there's no going back." "He's going after the house, Grandma. The house Dad left for us." She nodded grimly. "I've added the latest bank statements. The transfer he made yesterday was for $10,000. The doorbell rang. Family members started arriving. Aunts, uncles, cousins. Desiree hugged me tight and whispered, "Zane's been bragging to everyone about some huge surprise he's planning." "Trust me," I whispered back. "The surprise tonight isn't going to be his." Zane returned just as Mom was calling everyone to the table. He had that familiar smug look, the one he wore when he knew he'd gotten away with something. "Before we start," he announced, standing at the head of the table, Dad's old spot, "I just want to say how blessed I feel to be part of this family, especially you, Mom." He smiled at my mother. "Your trust means everything to me." I caught Grandma's eye across the table. She gave me the slightest nod. "Speaking of trust," I said, standing up. My heart hammered, but my voice stayed steady. "I have something to share, too." "Brooke," Mom frowned. Zane was speaking. "No, this can't wait." I pulled out my phone. "I want to play something for everyone." Zane's recorded voice filled the dining room. "Yeah, man, it's too easy. She never checks the accounts." The color drained from his face. Mom looked confused. "What is this?" "Show them," Grandma said quietly, sliding the manila envelope across the table. My hands shook as I pulled out the bank statements. "Mom, look at these. Really look at them. All those transfers from your account, they weren't investments. They were theft." "That's ridiculous," Zane laughed, but it sounded hollow. "Mom, you know me?" "The BMW," I continued. "The designer clothes, the gaming setup, all bought with money he's been stealing from you for months." "These could be faked," Zane said quickly. "She's just jealous of my success." "Call the bank," I challenged. "Right now. Check your accounts. See how much is left." The room was silent, except for the sound of Mom's shaking hands as she pulled out her phone. She logged into her banking app, something she hadn't done in months. "Oh my God," she whispered. "Mom, I can explain," Zane started. $70,000? Her voice cracked. "How could you?" "And he was going to take the house," I added. "Weren't you, Zane? That was tomorrow's big announcement?" He stood up so fast his chair fell backward. "You don't understand. I had investments lined up, deals ready to go. I was going to pay it all back." "Like you paid back the money you took from your last stepmother?" Grandma's voice cut through his protests. "Yes, I checked into that too." Mom's face crumpled as the truth sank in. Years of blind trust shattered in minutes. "I think," my uncle said, standing up, "we should call the police." "No." Zane backed away from the table. "No, you can't." But Mom was already dialing, her other hand clutching the bank statements. As chaos erupted around us, I felt a strange mix of triumph and sadness. Not for Zane, he deserved everything coming to him, but for Mom, whose perfect world had just imploded. Grandma squeezed my hand under the table. "Truth hurts," she whispered, "but lies hurt more." Through the dining room window, I watched Zane's BMW speed away into the night. He wouldn't get far. The police had his name, his photo, and evidence of his theft. Some Christmas gifts, it turns out, come wrapped in consequences. The police found Zane at a highway motel just past midnight. While they took him in for questioning, our house became a crime scene of a different sort. Investigators combing through financial records, aunts and uncles making frantic calls, and Mom sitting silent at the kitchen table staring at nothing. "I should have seen it," she kept whispering. "All those signs." I sat across from her, pushing a cup of tea closer. "Mom?" "No," she cut me off. "Don't try to make me feel better. I chose him over you every time, and look what he did." My phone lit up with a text from Noe. "How are you holding up?" Before I could respond, Detective Rivera walked in with more papers. "Mrs. Oliver? We found evidence of previous fraudulent activities. Your stepson has quite a history." "Previous activities?" I asked. "3 other families," she said, laying out documents. "Same pattern each time. He'd charm his way in, gain trust, then drain accounts. His father, your husband," she nodded to Mom, "had no idea. He's on his way here now." Mom's hands trembled as she reached for the papers. "The college fund he said he was managing, my retirement account. We'll recover what we can," Detective Rivera assured her. He didn't have time to hide most of it. Grandma Eloise appeared with fresh coffee for everyone. "Brooke," she said softly, "why don't you take a walk with me?" Outside, the Christmas lights seemed too bright, too cheerful. We walked in silence until reaching the park where I used to practice dance routines. "Your mother called me earlier," Grandma said. "Before you came down for tea, she was crying." "About Zane?" "About you." Grandma sat on a bench, patting the space beside her. "She said she finally understood why you worked so hard for that scholarship. You weren't just trying to get into college. You were trying to escape." My throat tightened. I couldn't stay, not with him there, taking everything. "I know, dear. And now your mother knows too." She pulled out her phone, showing me a text from Mom sent just minutes ago. How do I even begin to make this right with Brooke? Back at the house, we found Mom in my old room, Zane's room, taking down his posters. "I want you to have your room back," she said without turning around. "If you want it." "Mom, I kept every article about your competitions," she continued, voice breaking. "Every honor roll certificate. They're in a box in my closet. I never hung them up because Zane said it might make him feel bad about his grades. God, I was so stupid." "You weren't stupid," I said. "You were manipulated. We all were." She finally turned to face me, eyes red. "When did you get so wise?" "Probably around the time I realized I had to save myself. And you." The front door opened downstairs. More police, more questions. Mom squared her shoulders. "We should go down," she said. "But Brooke?" Tomorrow I'd like to hear about your semester. Really hear about it. Everything I should have asked before." My phone buzzed again. Desiree. "Holy shit, they found 3 more families he scammed. It's all over the local news." Then Noe. "You okay? Need me to drive up?" And finally, an unknown number. "This is Stephen, Zane's father. I am so sorry for what my son did to your family. Please tell your mother I'll help make this right." Mom was already halfway downstairs when she turned back. "Brooke, thank you for being stronger than I was." "We're both strong," I said. "We just forgot for a while." In the living room, Detective Rivera was laying out more evidence. Bank statements, forged documents, a trail of destruction across 3 states. Mom sat down to face it all. And this time, when she reached for my hand, I didn't pull away. Grandma brought out the photo albums, real ones this time, filled with family pictures from before Zane, before the lies, before we lost ourselves trying to be what he wanted us to be. "Look," Mom said softly, pointing to a photo of my first dance recital. "You were always so determined, so sure of yourself. When did I stop seeing that?" "It doesn't matter," I replied. "You see it now." Outside, carol singers were making their way down the street. Tomorrow was Christmas Eve, and nothing would be the same. But as I watched Mom finally seeing the truth about Zane, about herself, about me, I realized different didn't mean worse. Sometimes, I thought, The best gifts come wrapped in hard truths and second chances. Christmas Eve morning brought a fresh wave of chaos. Reporters camped outside our house, their cameras flashing every time someone walked past a window. Mom sat at the kitchen table with Stephen, Zane's father, going through more paperwork. "The house is safe," Stephen assured her. "He never got the chance to file those documents, and I'll help recover whatever else I can." "I trusted him with everything," Mom said, her voice hollow. "My accounts, my passwords, my—" "Your daughter," I finished, walking in with coffee for everyone. The room went quiet. Stephen cleared his throat. "Brooke, I can't apologize enough for what Zane—" "Don't," I cut him off. "You didn't know either." My phone buzzed. Noe was FaceTiming. I stepped into the living room to answer. "You're trending locally," she said without preamble. "Someone leaked the story to social media. They're calling it the Christmas Con." I peeked through the curtains at the news vans. "Yeah, we noticed. How's your mom holding up?" Before I could answer, the doorbell rang. Through the peephole, I saw Desiree with 2 cups of coffee. "Thought you could use this," she said when I let her in. "Also, fair warning, half the family's coming over. They all want to help somehow." "Help or gawk?" I asked. "Both, probably." She wasn't wrong. Within an hour, the house filled with relatives bearing casseroles and questions. Aunt Maria was helping Mom change her passwords. Uncle Pete was on the phone with his lawyer friend. Cousins huddled around laptops tracking down Zane's social media posts for the police. "He really had us all fooled," Desiree said, scrolling through old photos. "Remember when he bought everyone those expensive Christmas gifts last year?" "With Mom's money," I reminded her. Grandma Eloise arrived with lunch for everyone. As she sat up in the kitchen, Detective Rivera returned with updates. "We've frozen all the accounts we could find," she said, "and we've located most of the major purchases. The car, the electronics, they'll be repossessed." "What about Zane?" Mom asked. "He's not talking much, but with the evidence we have, he's looking at significant time. The other families are pressing charges too." My phone lit up with another text from an unknown number. This time, it was Zane. "Tell Mom I'm sorry. I'll pay everything back. Please don't do this." I showed the message to Detective Rivera, who immediately called it in. "He's not supposed to be contacting anyone." Mom read the text over my shoulder. "Delete it," she said firmly. "Delete everything about him." We spent the afternoon doing just that, removing Zane's photos from frames, clearing his things from my old room, erasing every trace of the person who'd almost destroyed our family. "I found this," Mom said quietly, holding up a dusty trophy from my sophomore year dance competition. "It was in the attic. I'm putting it back where it belongs." As she placed it on my shelf, more relatives arrived. The house hummed with activity, people making calls, sharing information, offering support. It wasn't the Christmas Eve we'd planned, but it felt more real than any holiday with Zane had ever been. "Your cousin Sarah's husband is an accountant," Grandma told Mom. "He's offering to help sort out the finances." "And my friend's dad is a security specialist," Desiree added. "He can help set up better protection for the accounts." I stepped outside for air and found Stephen sitting on the porch steps. "I keep thinking about all the signs I missed," he said. "The expensive gifts, the constant money talk, the way he'd pit people against each other." "He was good at what he did," I replied. "Really good. But you saw through it." "I had to. No one else was looking." Inside, I heard laughter. Actual, genuine laughter. Mom was showing Aunt Maria an old photo album, one without Zane in it. My phone buzzed with another update from Noe. "Local news wants to interview you. What should I tell them?" I looked through the window at my family. Messy, imperfect, but real. Coming together to rebuild what Zane had tried to destroy. "Tell them no comment," I texted back. "Some stories don't need a bigger audience." "You sure? You could be famous?" "I don't want fame," I replied. "I just wanted my family back." And watching Mom laugh with her sisters, seeing Grandma direct traffic in the kitchen, hearing the honest conversations about money and trust and fresh starts, I realized I finally had exactly that. Christmas morning dawned with a blanket of fresh snow and news that would change everything again. Detective Rivera called just as Mom was making coffee. "We need you both to come down to the station," she said. "Zane's asking to talk, to both of you." Mom's hand trembled as she set down her mug. "I can't." "You don't have to," I said quickly. "Actually," Detective Rivera interjected through the speaker, "his confession could help recover more of your assets, and there might be other victims we don't know about." 20 minutes later, we sat in a stark interview room. Mom gripped my hand under the table as Zane was led in, wearing an orange jumpsuit that made him look smaller, younger somehow. "Mom," he started, then caught himself. "Giselle, Brooke, Save it," I cut him off. "Just tell us where the rest of the money is." He slumped in his chair. "Some of it's in offshore accounts. I'll give you the details. But first, I need you to understand." "Understand what?" Mom's voice was steel. "How you manipulated me, used me, turned me against my own daughter?" "I never meant—" "Stop lying," I snapped. "That's exactly what you meant to do. We found the others, Zane. The other families. This is your pattern." His facade cracked. "Fine. You want the truth? I targeted you because you were perfect. A widow with a teenage daughter looking for a ready-made family. So desperate to believe in something good that you'd ignore every red flag." Mom flinched but didn't look away. "The money. Where is it?" He listed accounts, passwords, hidden investments. Detective Rivera took notes while another officer recorded everything. When he finished, he looked directly at me. "How long did you know?" "Long enough," I replied. "Grandma helped me put it together." "Ah, Eloise." He actually smiled. "The only one I couldn't fool. Should have known she'd be my downfall." "No," Mom said firmly. "Your own actions were your downfall. We're done here." As we stood to leave, Zane called out, "Wait, there's something else you should know." "Book him for the additional charges," Detective Rivera told her colleague. "We're finished." Outside the station, Mom broke down. "I let him into our lives, into our home. I chose him over you, over and over." "Mom, stop," I hugged her tight. "You're not the first person he's fooled, and you won't be the last. But you're one of the few brave enough to face it." My phone buzzed. Grandma asking how it went. As I typed a response, Detective Rivera emerged with more papers. "We've located 3 more accounts," she said. "And there's something else. We found evidence that Zane was planning to marry into another wealthy family next summer. He was going to disappear with everything right after." Mom straightened her spine. "Well, he won't be attending any weddings where he's going." Back home, the family had gathered again. Desiree met us at the door with hot chocolate and news. "They found his storage unit," she said excitedly. "All the gifts he gave everyone. They were bought with stolen money, so they have to be returned. But look what we found in there." She led us to the living room, where amid boxes of evidence sat my old dance trophies and photos, the ones I thought Mom had thrown away. "He kept them," I whispered. "Control," Grandma said from her armchair. "Keeping pieces of your life, your achievements, hidden away. That's what abusers do." "Not anymore," Mom declared. She started hanging the photos right then and there in prominent spots around the living room. "These belong where everyone can see them." My phone lit up with a news alert. "Christmas con artist faces multiple charges across 3 states." Below was Zane's mugshot, his confident smile finally gone. "They want to interview us," Mom said, reading over my shoulder. "Tell our side." "Do you want to?" She looked around at our family, real family, gathering close, supporting each other, rebuilding trust that Zane had tried to destroy. "No," she decided. "Our story isn't for them, it's for us." Aunt Maria called everyone to dinner, a proper Christmas dinner, filled with love instead of lies. As we sat down, Mom squeezed my hand. "Merry Christmas, sweetheart. I'm so sorry it took all this for me to see clearly." "Merry Christmas, Mom," I replied. "Better late than never." And as our family passed dishes around the table, sharing real stories and genuine laughter, I realized something. Sometimes the best gifts aren't wrapped at all. Sometimes they're simply the truth, finally set free. The day after Christmas, Mom and I sat at our kitchen table with stacks of paperwork, sorting through the aftermath of Zane's deception. Detective Rivera had recovered most of the stolen money, but the emotional wreckage still needed cleaning up. Another card from his previous victims, Mom said, opening an envelope. They want to start a support group. That might actually help, I replied, watching her add it to our keep pile. The doorbell rang. Steven stood there holding a box. Found more of your things in Zane's storage unit, he said. And I wanted to give you this. He handed Mom an envelope containing a cashier's check. It's not much, but it's everything I have in savings. I know it won't make up for what he did, but keep it, Mom said firmly. You're not responsible for his actions. Neither are you, he replied quietly. As Stephen left, Grandma Eloise arrived with Desiree. They'd been helping track down and return all the gifts Zane had bought with stolen money. The BMW's been repossessed, Desiree announced. And guess what? That successful business he claimed to run? It was just a website template he bought for $50. My phone buzzed. Noe sending me my class schedule for next semester. You should see the comments on his old Instagram posts, she texted. Everyone's calling him out now. Speaking of school, Mom said, I've been thinking, would you consider moving back home, now that your room is yours again? I looked around at the walls now covered with my achievements, my photos, my life. Actually, I think I need to stay on campus. Not because I want to run away anymore, but because I've found my place there. Instead of looking hurt, Mom smiled. I'm proud of you, you know that? Not just for exposing Zane, but for building your own life despite everything. Despite me? She added softly. Mom? No, let me finish. I spent so long trying to replace what we lost when your father died that I nearly lost you too. But you never lost yourself. You stayed strong, stayed true. I want to learn how to do that. The front door opened as more family members arrived. Aunt Maria carrying fresh coffee, Uncle Pete with more paperwork from his lawyer friend, cousins bringing lunch. The news vans are finally gone, Aunt Maria reported. But you've got about 50 messages from reporters wanting interviews. Delete them all, Mom and I said simultaneously, then laughed, a real, genuine laugh that felt like healing. Grandma Eloise pulled out an old photo album I'd never seen before. Found this while cleaning out my attic, she said. Look, there was Mom at my age, fierce and independent, leading protest rallies at college. You were just like Brooke, Grandma told her, before you forgot who you were. I remember now, Mom said, touching the photos gently. And I'm not forgetting again. Detective Rivera called with updates. Zane had confessed to everything, hoping for a lighter sentence. The other families were pressing charges. His previous stepmother wanted to meet us. Strength in numbers, Mom said after hanging up. We're all going to meet next week. Support each other through the legal process. You don't have to do this alone anymore, I reminded her. Neither of us do. Desiree was scrolling through her phone. The local paper posted an article about financial abuse and how to spot it. They interviewed that therapist you recommended, Grandma. Knowledge is power, Grandma said, and power shared is power multiplied. As evening fell, our house stayed full of family, real family, not the perfect image Zane had tried to force us into. Mom and Aunt Maria were planning self-defense classes together. Uncle Pete was helping set up new security measures for everyone's accounts. Cousins shared stories of red flags they'd noticed but been afraid to mention. You know what? Mom said, looking around at everyone. For the first time since your father died, this feels like home again. My phone lit up with another text from Noe. Ready to come back to school next week? We've got that dance showcase to prepare for. I showed Mom the message. Go, she said immediately. Dance your heart out. I'll be there this time. Front row. Promise. Promise. No more missing the important moments. Outside, the Christmas lights still twinkled, but they didn't seem artificial anymore. They were just lights, illuminating a family finding its way back to truth, back to each other. We're going to be okay, I said, and for the first time in years I completely believed it. Mom hugged me tight. We already are.
The crystal champagne flute trembled in my hand as I watched my mother-in-law's lips curl into that familiar smirk. 7 years of marriage to her precious son, and I still couldn't shake the chill that ran down my spine whenever she looked at me that way. My name is Jennifer, and I've spent nearly a decade being the family disappointment. The woman who dared marry into the illustrious Willis family without the proper pedigree or bank account to match. I simply can't wait for next month's anniversary party, Yvonne announced, swirling her wine with practiced elegance. I have the most wonderful surprise planned. The dining room fell silent. Even the gentle clink of sterling silver against fine china seemed to hold its breath. I caught my husband Landon's questioning glance from across the table, but he quickly looked away. He always looked away. "Mother, we agreed no surprises this year," Landon said, his voice carrying that slight tremor it always did when he confronted her. "Jennifer and I wanted something simple." Yvonne's laugh tinkled like breaking glass. "Oh, darling, nothing about our family is simple. You know that." Her eyes locked onto mine. "Isn't that right, Jennifer?" I forced a smile. "Of course, Yvonne. Though sometimes simple can be refreshing." Max, the family's CEO, cleared his throat. "Speaking of refreshing, the quarterly numbers are looking exceptional. Jennifer, I noticed the marketing suggestions you sent over actually." Now, Yvonne cut in. "Let's not bore everyone with business talk. Besides, I'm sure Jennifer has enough on her plate managing the household." She paused, eyeing my barely touched plate. Though perhaps not as well as one might hope. Hope, my best friend and tonight's invited guest, shifted uncomfortably beside me. Under the table, she squeezed my hand, our secret signal that I needed to keep my cool. "Actually," I said, my voice steady despite my racing heart, "I've been quite busy with several personal projects." "How lovely," Yvonne cooed. "It's so important to have hobbies. Speaking of which, you remember Chelsea, don't you? Maxwell's niece? She's doing remarkable things in corporate law now. She'll be attending the anniversary party." The way she emphasized Chelsea's name made my stomach turn. I'd met her once. Young, beautiful, and exactly the kind of woman Yvonne had always wanted for her son. "Chelsea?" Landon frowned. "I haven't seen her since we were kids." "Oh, she's grown into quite the accomplished woman," Yvonne beamed. "Harvard Law, summer home in the Hamptons, family money, of course. The kind of connections that could really benefit our family's future." I set down my glass before I could crush it. "The party is to celebrate our marriage, Yvonne. 7 years of it." "Yes, 7 long years," she mused, dabbing her lips with her napkin. "Time does have a way of clarifying things, doesn't it?" Hope cleared her throat. "Jennifer, didn't you want to show me that painting in the study? The new one?" I grabbed the lifeline. "Yes, actually. Would you all excuse us for a moment?" We barely made it to the study before Hope spun around. "She's planning something big." "I know." I sank into the leather armchair, my hands shaking. The way she kept talking about Chelsea, about the future. "You have to tell Landon about your plan," Hope insisted, "before this party, before whatever she's plotting." I shook my head. "Not yet. The acquisition isn't final. If word gets out too soon..." "Jen, she's trying to replace you, with some corporate Barbie who probably color codes her sock drawer." "Let her try." I stood up, smoothing my dress. "Everything's already in motion. In exactly 4 weeks, Yvonne Willis is going to learn what it feels like to be the one without power." Hope's eyes widened. "You're really going through with it?" "You know what she said to me last Christmas? That I should be grateful they let me marry Landon at all. That some people just aren't meant for certain circles." I walked to the window, watching the city lights flicker below. "Well, I'm about to buy my way into every circle she holds dear." "Jennifer?" Landon's voice carried from the hallway. "Mother's asking for us." I turned to Hope, my jaw set. Time to go back to playing the dutiful daughter-in-law. For now. As we walked back to the dining room, Yvonne's voice drifted out, discussing seating arrangements with surprising animation. I caught the words head table and special announcement. Let her plan her perfect party. Let her think she's finally found a way to push me out. In 4 weeks, I wouldn't just crash her carefully orchestrated celebration. I'd own it. Literally. I just hoped Landon would understand why I had to do it this way. Why 7 years of subtle humiliation and carefully crafted exclusion had led me to this moment. Because one way or another, this anniversary would mark the end of Yvonne Willis's reign over our lives, and the beginning of mine. The paperwork looks solid, Eugene said, adjusting his wire-rimmed glasses as he spread documents across his mahogany desk. But Jennifer, are you absolutely certain about this? The family has trusted me as their attorney for 30 years. I leaned forward, my designer blazer, a recent splurge I'd finally allowed myself, crinkling slightly. That's exactly why I came to you, Eugene. You know every skeleton in their closet. He shuffled uncomfortably. The acquisition is legitimate. Your shell company's offer is more than fair, but the deception involved... Deception? I pulled out my phone, scrolling through saved screenshots. Like when Yvonne tried to have my prenup modified without my knowledge 3 years ago? The same prenup you refused to alter because it was, as you put it, ethically questionable? Eugene's face flushed. That was different. Was it? I slid the final contract across his desk. Sign as witness, Eugene, or I'll find someone who will. The door opened and Hope burst in, her heels clicking against the hardwood floor. Sorry I'm late. Traffic was insane. She paused, reading the room. Did I miss the fun part? Perfect timing, I said. Eugene was just about to sign. Hope dropped into the chair beside me, pulling out her tablet. While you finish up here, you need to see these numbers. The tech division's value is even higher than we thought. Your little startup didn't just succeed, Jen. It's about to become a major player. I allowed myself a small smile. For 3 years, I'd been building my company in secret, starting with a small inheritance from my grandmother. While Yvonne thought I was taking cooking classes and attending charity luncheons, I was actually securing investors and developing revolutionary software. Eugene's pen scratched across the paper. There, it's done. He looked up at me, his expression grave. The family will know within days that someone's buying their shares. Once the acquisition is complete, there's no going back. Good. I gathered the papers, sliding them into my briefcase. Because I'm done going backward. Hope waited until we were in the elevator before squealing. I can't believe we pulled this off. From that tiny office above my garage to this. She grabbed my hands. You're about to own one of the largest tech companies on the East Coast. We're not celebrating yet, I warned, but I couldn't help grinning. First, we need to... The elevator doors opened and I froze. Landon stood in the lobby, deep in conversation with Max. Quick, Hope whispered. Act natural. Jennifer? Landon looked surprised. What are you doing here? Hope needed to drop off some documents for her divorce. I lied smoothly. I came for moral support. Max nodded sympathetically. Nasty business divorce. Speaking of business, Landon, we should finish our discussion about those board changes your mother's suggesting. My ears perked up. Board changes? Nothing concrete, Landon said quickly. Just some restructuring ideas. Mother thinks that it's time for fresh perspectives. Max finished. Though between us, I'm not sure about her timing. The company's doing better than ever. Hope clutched my arm. We should really get going. Lots of paperwork to handle. As we hurried out, I heard Max say, You know, your wife's got quite a head for business. That marketing proposal last month was brilliant. Maybe we should consider... The rest of his words were cut off by the closing doors. Outside, I finally let out the breath I'd been holding. That was close, Hope said. But did you hear that? They're planning board changes right before the takeover? That can't be a coincidence. I flagged down a taxi. No, it can't. Yvonne's planning something big for that anniversary party, and now she's messing with the company structure? I pulled out my phone. Call Eugene. Tell him to expedite everything. I want the acquisition complete before that party. What about Landon? Are you ever going to tell him? I watched the city blur past the taxi window, remembering the way he'd looked away at dinner, the way he always looked away. He'll know soon enough. They all will. And if he doesn't understand? If he takes their side? The question hit me like a punch to the gut. Then I'll have lost my husband, I said quietly. but I'll have kept my dignity. And maybe, just maybe, I'll have earned his respect. Hope squeezed my hand. For what it's worth, I think you're doing the right thing. Sometimes the only way to fix a broken system is to break it completely. My phone buzzed. A message from Yvonne about final party arrangements. Another buzz. Eugene confirming the paperwork was being processed. 2 weeks until the acquisition would be complete. 3 weeks until the party. After 7 years of smiling through subtle jabs and calculated exclusion, my patience was finally about to pay off. I just hoped the price wouldn't be too high. The Willis corporate headquarters buzzed with unusual energy as decorators transformed the top-floor event space for tomorrow's pre-party board meeting. I lingered near the service entrance, watching Yvonne direct workers with military precision. The flowers go there. No, not those ones. She snapped at a nervous-looking florist. The pink roses are for tomorrow. The white ones are for next week's main event. Everything okay? Max appeared beside me, making me jump. You look lost in thought. Just admiring Yvonne's attention to detail. He chuckled. That's one way to put it. Listen, Jennifer, got a minute? There's something I've been meaning to discuss. My heart raced as I followed him to his office. Had he discovered something? The acquisition was nearly complete, but one wrong move now could ruin everything. Close the door, he said, settling behind his desk. I'm worried about Yvonne. I blinked. Worried? She's been making strange moves lately, calling emergency board meetings, suggesting radical leadership changes. He rubbed his temples. This morning, she asked me to transfer significant company shares to a trust she's creating. Did she say why? Something about securing the family's future. But the timing feels off. We're more profitable than ever, thanks in part to those marketing strategies you suggested. I forced a neutral expression. Have you talked to Landon about this? Tried to, but you know how he gets when it comes to his mother. Max leaned forward. Actually, I wanted to run something by you. How would you feel about taking a more active role in the company? A knock interrupted before I could respond. Landon poked his head in. Mother's looking for you, Max. Something about the seating arrangements? God help me, Max muttered, standing. Think about what I said, Jennifer. We could use someone with your insight. As he left, Landon studied my face. What was that about? Nothing important, I said quickly. Just party details. You've been different lately, he said softly. Distant. Is everything okay? For a moment, I wanted to tell him everything. About the company I'd built, the acquisition, his mother's manipulation. But then Yvonne's voice carried down the hallway. Landon, there you are. Chelsea just arrived. Come say hello. His face lit up. Chelsea's here? I haven't seen her in ages. My stomach twisted. Go ahead. Don't keep them waiting. Once alone, I slipped into the empty boardroom next door. Through the thin wall, I could hear voices from the event space. The prodigal daughter returns. Yvonne's voice dripped with warmth she'd never shown me. Doesn't Chelsea look stunning, Landon? Harvard Law certainly agrees with her. You look great, Landon agreed. How long are you staying? Through next week's party, at least, Chelsea replied. Yvonne has big plans for the celebration. Yes, Yvonne said. Very big plans. Max, darling, there you are. We need to discuss those share transfers immediately. Their voices moved away, but I stayed frozen in place. Share transfers. Chelsea's extended stay. The way Yvonne emphasized big plans. My phone buzzed. A text from Hope. Eugene says acquisition paperwork is ready. We're ahead of schedule. You sure about this? Another voice drifted through the wall. Max, speaking in low tones. I don't like it, Eugene. These rushed changes, the secret meetings. Something's not right. Mrs. Willis is within her legal rights, Eugene responded, sounding tired. Though perhaps the timing is unfortunate. Unfortunate? The company's facing its biggest transition in years, and she's focused on some mystery announcement at a party? I'd heard enough. Stepping into the hallway, I nearly collided with Chelsea. "Jennifer?" She smiled warmly. "I was hoping to run into you. Yvonne's told me so much." "Has she?" I matched her smile. "Funny, she's told me almost nothing about you." "Oh, you'll learn everything soon enough." She touched my arm. "I hope we can be friends. After all, we're both so invested in this family's future." Before I could respond, my phone buzzed again. "Hope. Emergency, call now." "Excuse me," I said, already walking away. "I need to take this." In the privacy of the elevator, I called Hope. "They're moving up the board meeting," she said without preamble. "To tomorrow morning, Eugene just told me." "What? Why?" "Something about voting on major structural changes before the party. Jen, if they reorganize before the acquisition is complete..." "They can't." I pressed the lobby button harder than necessary. "Call Eugene. Tell him we're executing tonight. I don't care what it takes." "Are you sure? Once we move, there's no going back." Through the closing elevator doors, I caught one last glimpse of Landon laughing at something Chelsea said, Yvonne watching them with satisfied eyes. "I'm sure," I said. "It's time to end this game." The emergency board meeting felt like a powder keg waiting to explode. I sat in my usual corner spot, watching board members file in while Yvonne held court at the head of the table, Chelsea conspicuously placed at her right hand. "Before we begin," Yvonne announced, "I'd like to introduce Chelsea properly. She'll be joining us as a legal consultant for our upcoming transitions." Max shifted uncomfortably. "Transitions we haven't voted on yet." "Mere formalities." Yvonne waved her hand dismissively. "Now, regarding the share transfers..." The boardroom door burst open. Eugene hurried in, clutching a stack of papers, his face flushed. "I apologize for the interruption, but there's an urgent matter." "It can wait." Yvonne cut him off. "We have important..." "It cannot wait," Eugene insisted, his voice unusually firm. "The company has received a binding acquisition offer." The room erupted in murmurs. Landon's head snapped up from his phone. "What?" "Impossible," Yvonne spat. "Who would dare?" "A tech consortium," Eugene continued, distributing documents. "They've already secured majority shareholder support. The deal is, effectively, done." I watched the color drain from Yvonne's face as she scanned the papers. This is a complete takeover," Max finished, whistling low. "And at these numbers, it's a damn good offer. But the timing," Chelsea interjected, mask of sweetness slipping. "Surely we can delay." "I'm afraid not," Eugene said. "The paperwork was finalized last night. All that remains is the formal announcement." Landon hadn't moved, staring at the acquisition documents. "Mother, what's going on?" "Nothing," Yvonne snapped. "This is clearly a mistake. A hostile takeover attempt that will squash immediately. Chelsea, call your firm..." "Actually..." I stood up, my heart pounding but my voice steady. "It's not hostile at all. The majority shareholders voted quite willingly. Isn't that right, Eugene?" The room fell silent. Every head turned toward me. "Jennifer?" Landon's voice cracked. "What do you know about this?" "She knows nothing," Yvonne snarled. "She's just the wife who built a tech empire right under your nose." I finished. "While you were planning parties and arranging marriages, I was arranging something else entirely." Chelsea's perfectly manicured hand crumpled the papers. "You're bluffing." I pulled out my phone, projecting my company's portfolio onto the boardroom screen. 3 years, 15 patents, over 200 employees, and as of last night, majority ownership of this company. "No," Yvonne whispered. "No, no, no. Yes." I turned to face her directly. "Did you really think I'd just stand by while you tried to replace me? While you planned to announce my husband's new future at our anniversary party?" Landon stood so quickly his chair toppled backward. "What?" Chelsea at least had the decency to look embarrassed. "Landon, I can explain..." "Don't bother," I cut in. The papers tell the whole story. Your law firm's involvement, the trust fund Yvonne was creating in your name, the planned announcement at the party. Mother? Landon's voice was deadly quiet. Is this true? Yvonne's composure cracked. I was trying to protect you, to secure your future with someone worthy of this family. By ambushing me at my anniversary party? He turned to Chelsea. And you agreed to this? It wasn't like that, Chelsea protested. Yvonne said you were unhappy, that you wanted... What I want, Landon interrupted, has never mattered to any of you, has it? Max cleared his throat. Perhaps we should focus on the acquisition. Yes, I said. Let's. As new majority shareholder, I'm calling an emergency vote. First order of business, restructuring the board. You can't do this, Yvonne hissed. I already have. I distributed more documents. You'll find your severance packages more than generous. Chelsea, I assume you can find your own way out. Landon, Yvonne pleaded. Stop her. But Landon was staring at me like he'd never seen me before. All this time, you were building a company? Yes. And you didn't tell me because I needed to prove something. I met his gaze. To them, to you, to myself, the room held its breath. 7 years of marriage balanced on this moment. Finally, Landon smiled. Well, I guess that makes you my boss now. Actually, I couldn't help smiling back. I'm everyone's boss now. Yvonne slammed her hands on the table. This isn't over. Oh, but it is. I gathered my things. Board meeting adjourned. And Yvonne? Don't worry about the anniversary party. I'll handle the arrangements from here. As I walked out, head high, I heard Max mutter, Now that's what I call a hostile takeover. For the first time in 7 years, I felt truly, completely free. The silence in our penthouse was deafening. Landon hadn't spoken a word during the car ride home, and now he stood by the window, drink in hand, watching the city lights flicker below. Say something. I finally broke the silence. Please, he turned, his expression unreadable. 3 years. You spent 3 years building an empire in secret. I couldn't tell you. I started, but he cut me off. No, let me finish. He set down his glass. 3 years of watching my mother belittle you, of me saying nothing. Of course you couldn't tell me. I hadn't expected that. You're not angry? Angry? He laughed, but there was no humor in it. I'm furious. At my mother, at myself, at this whole mess. He ran a hand through his hair. But at you? How can I be angry when you did exactly what I should have done years ago? The doorbell rang, interrupting the moment. Hope burst in before I could answer it. Your phones are blowing up. She waved her tablet. The business news is going crazy. Unknown tech entrepreneur acquires industry giant. Mystery woman takes down family empire. You're trending. Hope, Landon said quietly. Could we have a moment? Oh, right. Sorry. She backed toward the door. But Jen, call me later. Yvonne's already making moves. After she left, Landon poured another drink. Making moves? Care to explain? She's called 3 different law firms, I admitted, trying to challenge the acquisition, but it won't work. Everything's legal. That's not what I meant. He faced me. What moves is she making against us? Against you? My phone buzzed, a text from Eugene. Yvonne attempting to freeze family assets, trying to block access to anniversary party venue. She's trying to shut me out. I showed him the message, like she always has. Landon's jaw tightened. The party's still happening? It has to. Everyone who's anyone in the business world will be there. The perfect place to announce the new company direction. And humiliate my mother. I met his gaze. Would that be so wrong, after what she planned to do to us? He was quiet for a long moment. You know what hurts the most? Not the secret company, not the takeover. It's that I never saw it. Any of it. My mother's manipulation, your potential. I was blind to all of it. You saw what you wanted to see. I said softly. We all did. The doorbell rang again. This time it was Max. Sorry to interrupt. He looked between us awkwardly. But Jennifer, we need to talk strategy. The board members are split. Some are calling for emergency meetings. Others are threatening to resign. Let them, I said. We'll rebuild with people who share our vision. Our vision? Max raised an eyebrow. Unless you're planning to resign too? He grinned. Are you kidding? This is the most excitement we've had in years. I'm in. Good. I pulled out my laptop. Because I need your help planning the party. Jennifer? Landon interrupted. Before we do this, are you sure? Once we announce everything publicly, there's no going back. No reconciliation with my mother. Landon, I touched his arm. Your mother was going to announce your future marriage to another woman at our anniversary party. I think we're past reconciliation. Max choked on his drink. She was going to what? Ask Chelsea, I said dryly, though she might be busy updating her resume. My phone buzzed again. Hope sending security camera footage from the office. Yvonne was clearing out her office, Chelsea helping her pack files. They're not going quietly, Max observed. Good. I closed my laptop. Because neither am I. Landon wrapped an arm around my waist, surprising me. Then let's do this right. Make it a party they'll never forget. You're with me? I searched his face. I should have been with you from the start. He kissed my forehead. Better late than never. Max cleared his throat. As touching as this is, we have a crisis to manage. The press is demanding statements, shareholders are panicking. Let them panic, I said. By this time next week, they'll understand exactly why this change had to happen. My phone lit up with another message. Yvonne. You have no idea what you've started. I showed it to Landon, who took the phone and typed a reply. Actually, Mother, for once we know exactly what we're doing. As Max began outlining damage control strategies, I watched my husband. Really watched him. For the first time in our marriage, he stood tall, unburdened by his mother's expectations. Sometimes you have to tear everything down to build something better. I just hoped we were building something stronger than what we'd destroyed. But first, we had a party to plan. What do you mean my access has been denied? I stared at the security guard blocking the entrance to the plaza's grand ballroom. The anniversary party was due to start in less than an hour, and guests were already arriving. I'm sorry, ma'am. He checked his tablet again. But Mrs. Yvonne specifically updated the list this morning. You're not on it. Hope grabbed my arm. She can't do this. You own the company. The venue contract is still in her name, I realized, watching through the glass doors as Yvonne directed caterers inside. She caught my eye and smiled, giving a small wave. My phone buzzed. Landon. Stuck in traffic. Mother's doing? Your mother's locked me out of our own anniversary party, I texted back. Of all the petty, vindictive... Hope stopped mid-rant as Chelsea walked past us into the ballroom, not even trying to hide her smirk. That's it. I pulled out my phone. Max, we need that backup plan. Now. 10 minutes later, Max arrived with Eugene in tow, both looking harried. The venue won't budge, Max reported. Yvonne's threatened to sue them if they let you in without her approval. Which she technically can do, Eugene added. The contract... I don't care about the contract. I cut him off. This is my anniversary party. My company announcement. I'm not letting her win. A commotion at the entrance drew our attention. Landon had arrived and he looked furious. Where is she? He stormed past the security guard who didn't dare stop him. Mother. I followed in his wake before anyone could object, Hope and Max close behind. The ballroom was stunning. Crystal chandeliers, white roses everywhere, exactly as Yvonne had planned. Except now she stood center stage, champagne in hand, Chelsea at her side. Landon, darling, Yvonne called out. Just in time. We were about to begin. Begin what? He demanded. Humiliating my wife? Destroying our marriage? Guests turned to watch, phones already recording. This was exactly what Yvonne wanted. A scene, a scandal, something to discredit me. I'm simply protecting our family's interests, Yvonne said smoothly. After that hostile takeover. Hostile? I laughed, drawing everyone's attention. Like plotting to announce my husband's new engagement at our anniversary party? Gasps rippled through the crowd. Chelsea took a step back, but Yvonne held her ground. Security, she called out. This woman is trespassing. 2 guards approached, but Max stepped forward. Actually, as acting CEO, I can confirm Mrs. Jennifer is exactly where she should be. Acting CEO? Yvonne's voice rose. You're taking her side? I'm taking the side of progress, Max answered. Something you might try sometime. The guards hesitated, looking between us. Oh, for heaven's sake, Yvonne snapped. Fine, stay. Make a fool of yourself. But this is still my party, and I have an announcement to make. She turned to address the crowd, but Landon grabbed the microphone first. Yes, Mother. Let's make announcements. Let's tell everyone how you tried to manipulate my marriage. How you plan to ambush us tonight. How you've spent 7 years trying to drive away the best thing that ever happened to this family. The best thing? Yvonne scoffed. She stole our company. No. I stepped forward. I built something better than your company. Something that will actually make a difference in the world. And I did it while you were too busy planning my replacement to notice. Hope appeared with a laptop, connecting it to the ballroom's projection system. My company's portfolio appeared on the massive screens. The innovations, the patents, the future plans. Ladies and gentlemen, I addressed the stunned crowd. Welcome to the future of Willis Technologies, a future built on merit, not manipulation, on innovation, not inheritance. Phones flashed as reporters in the crowd started taking notes. This wasn't the scandal Yvonne had planned. It was better. You can't do this, Yvonne whispered, but her voice shook. I already have. I took Landon's hand. Happy anniversary to us. And Mother, you might want to check your email. Your resignation letter is waiting. Chelsea slipped away through the crowd as Yvonne stood frozen, her perfect party crumbling around her. Well, Max raised his glass. I believe this calls for a toast. To the new CEO of Willis Technologies, and to karma. The crowd raised their glasses, the mood shifting from scandal to celebration. Landon pulled me close, whispering, I love you, and I'm so damn proud of you. Yvonne's face had gone from red to white. She grabbed her purse and headed for the exit, pausing only to hiss, This isn't over. Actually, Mother, Landon called after her. For once it is. As the party resumed around us, now with a very different energy, Hope squeezed my hand. Worth getting locked out for? I watched Yvonne's retreating back, 7 years of powerlessness finally lifting from my shoulders. Worth every second. The morning after the party, I sat at what used to be Yvonne's desk, watching the sun rise over the city. The headlines were everywhere. Tech's newest power player. Family drama leads to corporate coup. Daughter-in-law's sweet revenge. A knock at the door interrupted my thoughts. Max entered, carrying 2 coffee cups. The vultures are circling, he announced, handing me a cup. Every news outlet in the country wants an interview. The shareholders are demanding meetings, and 3 competing companies have already reached out about potential mergers. Let them wait, I said, pulling up the company's internal messaging system. We have more important things to handle first. The mass email? Are you sure about this? Every employee deserves to know where they stand. I hit send, and thousands of notifications went out across the company. Within minutes, my phone started ringing. Hope burst in, tablet in hand. It's working. The employee forums are exploding. People are crying at their desks. Happy tears. I smiled, remembering what I'd written. Full benefits for all employees, regardless of position. Parental leave doubled. Pay equity reviews. On-site childcare. Everything Yvonne had dismissed as unnecessary coddling. Mrs. Jennifer? My assistant poked her head in. The board members are arriving for the emergency meeting. Show them in. The boardroom filled quickly. Some faces were nervous, others excited. A few chairs sat conspicuously empty, Yvonne's supporters who'd resigned in protest. "Thank you all for coming." I stood at the head of the table. "I know change is scary." "Scary?" One of the older board members interrupted. "You've upended decades of tradition." Traditions that weren't working. Landon spoke up from his seat. "Or have you forgotten last quarter's innovation rankings?" "The numbers don't lie," Max added, distributing reports. "We've been stagnating while smaller companies, like Jennifer's, have been revolutionizing the industry." Speaking of numbers, I pressed a button and new projections filled the screens. "These are our growth forecasts under the new structure. Notice anything?" The room fell silent as they studied the data. Even the skeptics looked impressed. "This is ambitious," someone finally said. "It's necessary," I corrected. "We're not just changing leadership. We're changing culture, starting with this." I revealed the next slide, a complete reorganization chart. Women and minorities in key positions. Young innovators promoted. Old guard redistributed or retired. "You can't just..." Another protest began. "Actually, I can, but I won't." I smiled. "Because every person in this room has 48 hours to prove why they deserve to be part of our future. Show me your value, not your voting shares." The door burst open. Eugene rushed in, looking flustered. "Jennifer, we have a situation. Yvonne's filed an injunction." "Already handled," Hope interrupted, waving her tablet. "The judge threw it out 10 minutes ago. Apparently, he's not a fan of frivolous lawsuits from disgraced executives." My phone buzzed. A text from Chelsea. "Can we talk? Privately?" "Send her up," I told my assistant. To the board, I added, "Meeting adjourned. You have 48 hours. Make them count." As the room cleared, Chelsea entered. Gone was the polished corporate lawyer. She looked tired, human. "I'm sorry," she said immediately. "I never meant..." Yvonne said Landon was unhappy, that the company needed saving. "I didn't know..." "Save it," I cut her off. "You're a brilliant lawyer, Chelsea. Too brilliant to be someone else's pawn." She blinked. "What?" "I'm offering you a choice. Leave with Yvonne, chase her vendetta. Or stay, head our new legal department, and actually make a difference." "You'd trust me? After everything?" "Trust is earned, like respect." I handed her a contract. "Your choice." She stared at the paper for a long moment. Then, straightening her shoulders, she pulled out a pen. "Smart choice," Landon said from the doorway. He'd been watching silently. "Landon, Chelsea started. "No apologies needed. Just do better." After she left, Landon pulled me into his arms. "You know Mother will keep fighting. Let her try. We've got something she never had." "What's that?" "People who actually believe in what we're doing." My phone buzzed again, Yvonne's number. I declined the call. "The press is waiting downstairs," Hope reminded me. "Ready to face the cameras?" I looked around what was now my office, my company, my future. "Actually," I said, "I have a better idea. Max, call a company-wide meeting. All employees, all levels. It's time they heard from their new CEO directly." "And Yvonne?" Hope asked. "She can watch it on the news like everyone else." For the first time in 7 years, I didn't care what Yvonne thought. I had a company to run, a culture to change, and a future to build. And this was just the beginning. The autumn breeze carried the scent of coffee from the new employee cafe as I crossed the renovated courtyard of our corporate headquarters. Workers lounged on modern benches, laptops open, collaborating freely, exactly as I'd envisioned. "Mrs. Jennifer." A young programmer waved. "The new maternal leave policy changed my life. I can actually see my baby grow up." I smiled, remembering Yvonne's words. Sentiment has no place in business. Inside, Hope met me at the elevator. "Ready for this? Is anyone ever ready to face their mother-in-law in court?" The elevator opened to reveal Max and Chelsea, both clutching legal briefs. "She's already there," Chelsea reported, "with 3 lawyers and a PR team." "Of course she is." I straightened my jacket. Let's end this. The courthouse buzzed with reporters. As we entered, I spotted Landon already seated in the front row. He stood when he saw me, straightening his tie. The one I'd given him on our first anniversary. "Mother's asking for one last meeting," he said quietly, "before the judge arrives." I nodded. "Where?" "Conference room B. She's waiting." Inside, Yvonne sat alone, looking smaller somehow without her usual entourage. She'd aged in the past few months, the stress showing in new lines around her eyes. "Come to gloat?" she asked. "No." I sat across from her. "Come to end this." "End this?" She laughed bitterly. "You stole my company, my son, my legacy. I built something better than your legacy," I interrupted. "Have you seen the quarterly reports? Our innovation rate has tripled. Employee satisfaction is at record highs, even the stock price." "Numbers," she spat. "That's all you care about." Actually, I pulled out my phone, showing her our company's social media feed. "I care about people, like Sarah in accounting, who can finally afford her son's medical treatment, or Miguel in tech, whose green energy initiative is revolutionizing our carbon footprint, or..." "Enough." She slammed her hand on the table. "What do you want?" "For you to see what I've always seen, that this company could be more than just a family empire. It could make a real difference." "And my son? Was he just part of your master plan?" "Mother." Landon spoke from the doorway. I hadn't heard him enter. "You know better than that." "Do I?" Her voice cracked. "I don't know anything anymore." I reached into my briefcase, pulling out a document. "Yes, you do. You know this lawsuit is pointless. You know we're doing good work. And you know I'm offering you a choice." She stared at the paper. "What is this?" "A consulting position. Advisory only, no executive power. But your experience, your connections, they could still benefit the company. If you're willing to work with us instead of against us." "Why would you offer me anything?" "Because unlike you, I don't believe in destroying people to get ahead." I stood. "Your choice, Yvonne. Keep fighting and lose everything, or help us build something better than either of us imagined." The silence stretched. Finally, she picked up the document, reading carefully. "The child care center," she said suddenly. "The one you're building on the East Campus. It needs better security protocols." "I know." I smiled slightly. "That's exactly the kind of insight we could use." She looked at Landon, then back at me. Slowly, she reached for a pen. "If I sign this," she said, "I want one thing in return." "Name it." "Sunday dinners with my son and my daughter-in-law." Landon squeezed my hand. I nodded. "Deal." Outside, reporters clamored as we emerged together. Chelsea quickly addressed them. "All parties have reached an amicable agreement. No further comments." Back at the office, Hope was waiting with champagne. "To new beginnings?" "To family," Landon corrected, wrapping an arm around me. "The ones we're born with, and the ones we build." My phone buzzed. A message from Max. "East Campus childcare plans on your desk. Yvonne's already made notes. Think this will work?" Hope asked quietly. I watched through my office window as Yvonne spoke with our design team, gesturing animatedly about security cameras. 7 years of warfare, ending not with destruction, but with possibility. "It has to," I said, "because some things are more important than winning." "Like family?" Landon asked. "Like proving that success doesn't have to come at someone else's expense." I turned to face my husband. "Like showing that sometimes the best revenge isn't revenge at all. It's building something so amazing that your enemies want to be part of it." "Speaking of building," Hope grinned, "wait until you see the new innovation lab designs. Your mother-in-law actually had some brilliant suggestions." I laughed. Of course she did. She's family after all. And for the first time, those words felt completely true.
I always thought family meant having each other's backs. That was before I watched my brother pose next to a cherry red Porsche on Instagram. purchased with the money from my sold apartment, money that was supposed to fund his elite education abroad. My name is Yesenia, and I'm still trying to process how I went from being a responsible 32-year-old marketing executive with her own place to living in a cramped rental, all because I believed in my family's golden promise. Yesenia, mi amor, this is the opportunity of a lifetime. My mother's voice had quivered with excitement 3 months ago as she waved the acceptance letter. Your brother got into the International Business Academy in Switzerland. I remember standing in my kitchen, my beautiful newly renovated kitchen, watching my parents and Dominic celebrate. The marble countertops I'd saved 2 years for suddenly felt cold under my palms. The tuition is substantial, my father had said, sliding the numbers across my counter. But think of what this means for our family. Your brother could become someone important. I took a sip of water, trying to mask my reaction to the figure. That's more than my apartment is worth. Exactly. My mother clasped my hands. You're the only one who owns property. You're the responsible one, the strong one. This is your chance to help elevate the whole family. Dominic, my 27-year-old brother, had given me those puppy dog eyes he'd perfected since childhood. Sis, I promise I'll make you proud. I'll pay you back double once I'm established. I don't know, I'd started, but my mother cut in. What else are you saving it for? You're not married, no children. Your brother needs this more than you need extra space. The guilt trips continued for weeks. Daily calls, surprise visits, tearful pleas about family legacy and obligation. My father even brought up how I'd abandoned them by moving out 3 years ago. Fine, I finally said one evening. I'll sell the apartment. The speed at which they connected me with Vada, their preferred real estate agent, should have been my first red flag. The way they rushed through the paperwork, the second. But I was too busy trying to be the good daughter, the supportive sister. The day I handed over the check, my mother actually cried. You're an angel, she whispered, hugging me tight. God will reward your sacrifice. I moved into a small rental, consoling myself with thoughts of Dominic studying in Switzerland, making connections, building our family's future. For 2 weeks, I heard nothing. No updates about the school, no photos of the campus, no stories about his classes. Then came the Instagram post, living my best life, my blessed Hutch new car, Jar family first. There he was, my brother, leaning against a brand new Porsche 911, our parents beaming beside him, champagne glasses raised high. The dealership logo was clearly visible, Troy's Luxury Motors, right here in town, not Switzerland, not even close. My hands shook as I scrolled through his feed, party after party, designer clothes, nightclubs, zero textbooks, zero campus shots, zero evidence of any international academy. I called my mother immediately. Where's Dominic? Oh, honey, he's so busy with his studies. Stop lying. My voice came out steadier than I felt. I saw the car, Mom. I saw the photos. A long pause. Then, well, you gave us the money. What we do with it is our business. I gave it for his education. Don't be bitter just because your life is going nowhere, she snapped. We needed to invest in someone with real potential. Your brother knows how to make things happen. The line went dead. I sat there staring at my phone as reality crashed down around me. They'd played me. My own family had conspired to steal everything I'd worked for, everything I'd built. I opened Instagram again, looking at their champagne-soaked smiles. My mother's words echoed in my head. God will reward your sacrifice. Maybe. But first I was going to make sure karma did its job. I grabbed my laptop and started typing International Business Academy, Switzerland. The first result was a warning page about educational scams. My screen blurred as tears of rage filled my eyes. But I kept reading. If they thought they could get away with this because I was the responsible one, they were about to learn exactly what that meant. My phone buzzed. A text from Vada, the real estate agent. "Hey, I found something weird in my files from your sale. An audio recording. You need to hear this." I took a deep breath and texted back, "Send it." The responsible one was about to become the dangerous one. The audio file from Vada wouldn't play on my phone, but that didn't matter. I was already deep into my brother's social media rabbit hole. Each scroll revealed another punch to the gut. Living that luxury life, new watch to match the new ride. Blessed. VIP table at Crystal, only the best for this future CEO. Family dinner at La Maison. When you know your worth, you live accordingly. I clicked on a video. Dominic's voice blared through my speakers. "For all you haters wondering how I afford this lifestyle, it's called smart investments and family backing. Some of us are just built different." The timestamp was 2 days after I'd handed over my check. My phone rang. It was Vada. "Hey, I can't open the file," I said. "I'll come over. Trust me, you need to hear this in person anyway." 20 minutes later, Vada sat on my rental's worn couch, her sleek realtor appearance at odds with my temporary furniture. "Before I play this," she said, "you should know I'm breaking about 12 professional codes. But what they did..." She shook her head. "Just listen." The recording started with rustling papers, clearly from the day we'd signed the sale documents. I heard footsteps moving away, then my mother's voice crystal clear. "Finally, I thought she'd never leave." My father's laugh. "Our responsible daughter, always reading every line. Good thing she didn't read between them." "Did you see Dominic's face when we told him about the car?" My mother's voice dripped with pride. "He knows exactly how to present success, not like Yesenia, hiding in her little apartment playing it safe." "The Academy story was genius," my father added. "She's so desperate to believe we're proud of her, she didn't even verify it existed." "Well, we had to milk her for everything while we could, before she got married or something and stopped being so available." I stopped the recording. "There's more," Vada said quietly, "but I need to make a call." My fingers were already dialing the number I'd found online. "International Business Academy, how may I direct your call?" A heavily accented voice answered. "Hi, I'm calling about my brother's enrollment. Dominic." "I'm sorry, but this number is for the movie studio rental only. We are not academic institution." My laugh came out hollow. "Movie studio?" "Yes, we rent spaces for film productions. Perhaps you want the business school in Lausanne?" "No," I said. "This is exactly what I needed to know." After hanging up, I turned to Vada. "Why are you showing me this?" She twisted her wedding ring. "Because 6 months ago, your brother convinced my sister to invest in his startup. $30,000 gone. When I saw your parents plotting on the recording, it all clicked." My phone buzzed again. Another Instagram notification. Dominic at a rooftop bar, caption reading, "Success is a choice. Choose wisely." Entrepreneur life. "I need a copy of that recording," I said. "Already sent it to your email. Just be careful. Your brother has a lot of connections now." I smiled. So do I. That evening, I drove to Troy's Luxury Motors. The dealership was closing, but I caught Troy walking to his car. "We're closed," he called out. "I'm Dominic's sister," I said, "the one who helped finance his Porsche." Troy's expression shifted. "Funny. He said it was inheritance money, even showed us trust fund paperwork." "Did he?" I pulled out my phone, showing him the bank transfer from my apartment sale, because I have proof it was from selling my home for his fake education. Troy's face darkened. "That's fraud. We take that seriously here." "I thought you might. I have an audio recording you should hear." Back in my rental, I stared at my laptop screen. The email draft to Alea Russell, the investigative journalist known for exposing scams, was ready to send. Attached were the audio file, bank statements, and screenshots of Dominic's social media trail. My phone rang. My mother. "Dominic said you were asking questions at the dealership." She snapped. "Stop being jealous. It's not attractive." "Did you ever even look up the academy, Mom?" "We trusted your brother's research." "No, you trusted my money. There is no academy. It's a movie studio rental space." Silence then. "What's done is done. The money's spent. Move on." "You're right," I said. "What's done is done." I hit send on the email to Alea. My phone pinged with a new Instagram notification. Dominic posing with his Porsche again. "Haters gonna hate, but success leaves clues. Follow the signs." Blessed, unstoppable. "Oh, brother," I whispered, "you have no idea what kind of signs you're about to follow." Alea's response came within hours. "This is bigger than family drama. Can we meet?" We arranged to meet at a quiet cafe across town. I arrived early, nursing an Americano while replaying Vada's recording for the 100th time. Each listen made my blood boil hotter. Alea slid into the seat across from me, laptop already open. "So I did some digging," she said without preamble. "Your brother's academy scam? He's not the first to use it." She turned her screen toward me. "Look familiar?" The web page showed a luxury car dealership photo. Different city, different dealer, but the same pose. A young man leaning against a sports car, champagne in hand. The article headline read, "Family Funds Vanish in International Academy Scheme." "There's more," Alea said, scrolling. 3 cases in the last year. Same pattern. Someone convinces family to liquidate assets for an elite foreign education, then blows it on luxury purchases. They usually target siblings or elderly parents. "How did you find all this so fast?" "Because I've been tracking these cases, but yours is different." She leaned forward. "You have actual audio evidence of premeditation. That changes everything." My phone buzzed. Troy from the dealership. "Miss Yesenia, we reviewed the financing documents, the trust fund paperwork your brother provided. It's forged. We're contacting our legal team." "Send me copies of everything," I said, then turned to Alea. "You're going to want to hear this." After I hung up, Alea was already typing. "This is perfect. We can prove intent to defraud, but we need more. Do you have any tech-savvy friends?" I thought of Isaiah, my quiet friend from the marketing department, who'd helped me trace a cyberstalker last year. "Actually, yes." That evening, Isaiah sat in my rental, his fingers flying over his keyboard. "Their digital trail is sloppy," he said. "Your brother's been posting his location data everywhere. Not once has he been near Switzerland." "Can you prove when and where the trust fund documents were created?" He nodded. "The metadata shows they were made on your brother's laptop 2 days after you sold your apartment. Amateur hour." My phone lit up with a text from my mother. "We know what you're doing. Stop now, or we'll tell everyone how you abandoned the family, how you're trying to ruin your brother out of jealousy." I showed Alea the message. She smiled. "Perfect. Keep them talking. We need more evidence of the cover-up." I called my mother back, putting her on speaker. "How dare you talk to the dealership?" she hissed. "Do you know how embarrassing this is? More embarrassing than stealing my apartment money? We didn't steal anything. You agreed to pay for an education that doesn't exist. Your brother is networking, building connections. That's better than any school." "With my money, Mom. Money you got through fraud." "It's not fraud if you gave it willingly," my father's voice cut in. "We just helped you make a better investment than that stupid apartment." Alea was recording everything, nodding encouragingly. So you admit there was never any academy? Of course there wasn't, my father snapped. Your brother doesn't need school. He needs the right image, the right connections, something you never understood. And the forged trust fund documents? Silence. Then my mother, quietly, who told you about those? The dealership is pressing charges, I said. They don't like being defrauded. You wouldn't dare let this get out, my father growled. Think about our reputation. You should have thought about that before stealing my home. I hung up. Alea was already drafting her article. Isaiah had traced the trust fund document to its source. My phone pinged, another Instagram notification. But this time it wasn't Dominic. It was Troy's Luxury Motors. Due to recent revelations of fraudulent financing, we are conducting a full investigation into recent sales. Legal action pending. Then came the text from Vada. My sister's talking to the police about your brother's fake startup. She's not the only victim. Alea looked up from her laptop. This story goes live tomorrow. Are you ready for what comes next? I thought about my beautiful apartment now gone, about the years of manipulation, about that recording of my parents laughing at my naivety. More than ready. My phone buzzed one final time. Dominic, what the hell are you doing? Delete those posts or I swear you'll regret it. I showed Alea the message. She grinned. Want to know the best part? He just gave us our headline, Brother Threatens Sister After Fraud Exposure. For the first time since this started, I felt myself smile. Post it. Alea's article exploded overnight. By morning, my phone was flooded with messages from other victims. Each story followed the same pattern. Dominic promising exclusive investment opportunities, fake educational ventures, forged documents. Look at this, Isaiah said, showing me his laptop screen. We were camped out in his home office following the digital breadcrumbs. Your brother created at least 3 shell companies in the last year, all with similar names to legitimate businesses. International Business Academy LLC, I read. Global Elite Education Partners, Premium Investment Holdings. All registered to virtual offices, Isaiah added, but he slipped up, used the same IP address to create all the websites. My phone rang. Alea. Turn on channel 7, she said without greeting. Your brother's doing damage control. I flipped on Isaiah's TV. There was Dominic dressed in an expensive suit, standing outside his luxury apartment building. These allegations are completely false, he was saying, flashing his practiced smile. My sister is unfortunately dealing with some personal issues. She's always been jealous of my success. Is it true you forged trust fund documents? A reporter called out. And what about the fake academy? Dominic's smile faltered. No comment on ongoing legal matters, but I want to address my supporters directly. He pulled out his phone and started a live Instagram stream. I quickly opened the app to watch. Hey fam, don't believe the haters. Success breeds jealousy, and some people can't handle seeing others rise. Special message to my sister, not too late to back down. Family should stick together, right? The comments section exploded. Didn't you steal her apartment money? Scammer! What about all the fake investment victims? Dominic's face darkened. I see my sister's got her little trolls working overtime. Let me show you what real success looks like. He panned the camera to his Porsche. See this? This is what winners drive. This is what happens when you... The stream suddenly cut off. My phone buzzed. A text from Troy. Police just seized the car. Payment fraud confirmed. Isaiah whistled. Your brother's not going to like that? He's going to like this even less, I said, showing him my screen. Vada had sent another message. Police want to talk to you. They're building a case, multiple victims coming forward. Isaiah turned back to his computer. Want to see something interesting? I found his financial records. The money from your apartment, it wasn't just the car. Look where else it went. The spreadsheet showed a trail of transfers, designer clothes, VIP club memberships, rental payments for his luxury apartment, and something else. What's his payment to Media Boost Services? I asked. Isaiah typed rapidly. Fake followers. Your brother bought his entire social media presence. Those thousands of adoring fans? Bots. The supportive comments, paid engagement. My phone rang again. Unknown number. Is this Yesenia? A man's voice asked. This is Detective Rivera. We need to talk about your brother's financial activities. I'll tell you everything, I said. But first you should know about some audio recordings. As I spoke with the detective, Dominic went live again, this time from inside his apartment. You think you can take me down? He was shouting now, his carefully crafted image cracking. I built this. While you were playing it safe in your pathetic little apartment, I was building an empire. Comments flooded in. Bill it with stolen money. Where's the car, bro? Scammer getting caught live. Your brother's having a meltdown, Isaiah noted watching the stream. And saved. This'll be great evidence. My parents started calling. I declined each attempt. They're probably warning you that the police are asking questions, Isaiah said. Too late for warnings, I replied, forwarding Detective Rivera another batch of documents. My phone pinged with a final Instagram notification, Dominic looking disheveled. To all my real supporters, don't believe the lies. My sister's trying to destroy everything I've built, but watch this space. Tomorrow I'm dropping receipts. The real story about my perfect sister. Hope you're ready for the truth, sis. Isaiah looked at me. Are you worried? I showed him my screen, an email from Alea. Part 2 of the expose ready to go. Complete paper trail of every fraud, every victim, every fake document. Plus that audio of your parents plotting, running tomorrow morning. Let him drop whatever he wants, I said. The truth's already out there. Speaking of truth, Isaiah said, you might want to see this. He turned his screen toward me. I found where your brother's been getting his fake documents. I leaned forward, reading the emails he'd uncovered. My eyes widened. Oh, I whispered, this is so much bigger than we thought. The emails Isaiah found revealed a network of fraud that stretched far beyond my brother. Dominic wasn't just a scammer. He was part of a sophisticated ring targeting families with assets. The fake academy was their favorite cover story. Look at these names, Isaiah said, scrolling through the document. At least 20 other students used the same forged acceptance letters, same Swiss address, same letterhead. My phone buzzed. Alea calling. Are you seeing this? She asked. Your brother's trying to go live again, but Instagram suspended his account. I switched to Twitter. Dominic had moved platforms. Emergency stream, the truth about my sister. Going live in 5. Don't worry, Isaiah said, typing furiously. I've got his whole fake document trail ready to drop the moment he starts lying. The notification popped up. Dominic is live. My brother appeared on screen looking nothing like his polished social media persona. His designer shirt was wrinkled, his eyes wild. My dear sister thinks she can destroy me, he snarled. Let me tell you about perfect, responsible Yesenia. The stream suddenly split-screened as Alea joined, her journalist credentials displayed prominently. Actually, Dominic, let's talk about these emails I just received, the ones showing you're part of a larger fraud network. His face went pale. This is a private stream. It's a public platform, Alea countered, just like the public records showing you've scammed at least 20 other families. Want to comment on that? The viewer count skyrocketed. Comments poured in, "Get him! Show the receipts." Is this the same scam that hit my cousin? This is harassment, Dominic stuttered. My lawyers will... Your lawyers might be busy, Alea cut in. The FBI just confirmed they're investigating the document forgery ring you're connected to. Care to explain why you've been selling fake acceptance letters? The stream's chat exploded. Dominic's face contorted. You think you're so smart? He spat. You have no idea what's coming, Mom and Dad. A new voice joined the stream. Detective Rivera. Actually, Mr. Dominic, we'd love to hear about your parents' involvement. Our fraud division is very interested in that audio recording. Dominic's eyes went wide. He ended the stream abruptly. My phone immediately rang. My mother. What have you done? She shrieked. The police just called us. They're saying something about conspiracy charges. Funny how karma works, isn't it, Mom? We're your parents. You can't. Parents don't steal their daughter's home, I said calmly. Check Twitter. Your precious son just imploded live online. I hung up as Isaiah showed me his screen. The clips of Dominic's meltdown were already going viral. Breaking news. Local influencer exposed as part of international fraud ring. Trust fund scammer has live meltdown. When confronted by journalists, FBI investigating family-targeted investment scams. My phone buzzed with a text from Troy. Police just raided your brother's apartment, found all the forged documents. Thank you for helping us catch this. Then Vada. My sister's case is being added to the federal investigation. You did it, Yesenia. Alea called again. You need to see this. Someone streaming outside your brother's building. I opened the link. A crowd had gathered, phones raised, recording as police led Dominic out in handcuffs. His expensive suit was rumpled, his carefully styled hair a mess. This is all lies, he was shouting. My sister set me up. I'm the victim here. The officers guided him into the patrol car as comments flooded the stream. Scammer down. Justice for his sister. Anyone else scammed by this guy? Police hotline in bio. Turn on the news, Isaiah said. The local station was already running the story. Local man arrested in connection with international fraud scheme. Sources say the investigation began when the suspect's sister uncovered evidence of widespread financial fraud. My phone lit up with a message from Detective Rivera. We're bringing your parents in for questioning. The audio recording proves conspiracy. Want to press charges? Before I could respond, a new notification appeared, an email from my old apartment building. The new owners were being investigated for buying property with fraudulent funds. The sale might be reversed. Looks like you might get your home back, Isaiah said. I stared at my phone as messages poured in from other victims, thanking me for exposing the scam. Each one confirmed what I'd suspected. My brother's success was built on destroying others. What now? Isaiah asked. I watched another clip of Dominic being led away, still shouting about family loyalty. Now, I said, we follow the money, all of it. The police station's interview room was colder than I expected. Detective Rivera sat across from me, spreading documents across the table. Your parents are in the next room, he said. They're not cooperating. Think the audio recording might change their minds? I nodded. Play it. Through the observation window, I watched my parents' faces as their own voices filled the room, laughing about stealing my apartment money. My mother's smug smile crumbled. My father's shoulders slumped. Turn it off, my mother called out. We'll talk. Detective Rivera smiled. Funny how evidence works. My phone buzzed. Alea sending updates. The story had gone national. More victims were coming forward by the hour. The fraud ring had targeted families across 3 states. Your brother's talking too, Rivera said. Trying to cut a deal. claims your parents masterminded everything. A knock at the door. Another detective entered with a laptop. You need to see this. The financial records just came in. The spreadsheet showed years of transactions, not just my apartment money, dozens of victims, millions of dollars. They were running this scam long before they targeted you, Rivera explained. The Academy story was just their latest cover. My phone lit up. A text from Vada. Turn on the news now. I pulled up the live stream on my phone. There was my father, somehow out of interrogation, holding an impromptu press conference outside the station. My daughter is trying to destroy this family, he declared. She's always been jealous of her brother's success. These allegations are... The reporter cut him off. Sir, we have audio of you admitting to the fraud. Would you like to hear it? My father's face reddened. That recording was doctored. My daughter. We also have bank records, another reporter called out, showing you and your wife orchestrated similar scams against 12 other families. Comments? No comment. My mother appeared, trying to pull him away. Our lawyer has dropped your case, a voice called out. The camera panned to show their attorney walking away. I don't represent fraudsters. My phone buzzed again. Isaias, check your email. Found something big. The email contained a single document, a trust agreement dated 15 years ago. My grandfather had left everything to me, not my brother. My parents had hidden it, redirected the funds, forged my signature. Detective, I said, showing him the document. We need to add this to the investigation. Rivera whistled. That's inheritance fraud, federal offense. Outside, the press conference had devolved into chaos. My father was shouting about family loyalty while my mother tried to shield her face from cameras. Your brother wants to talk to you? Rivera said. Should I bring him in? I nodded. Dominic entered in handcuffs, his designer clothes replaced by standard issue gray. Gone was the swaggering influencer persona. Sis, he started, you have to help me. I'll tell them everything about Mom and Dad, just please. Like you told everyone the truth about me on your live stream? He flinched. I was desperate, but I've learned my lesson. I'll pay you back. With what money? The fraud funds are frozen. The car's seized. Your apartment's being searched right now. But you're my sister. He tried for his old puppy dog eyes. They look pathetic now. Exactly. I was your sister when you stole my home, when you laughed about it online, when you threatened to destroy me. I'm sorry. No, I cut him off. You're sorry you got caught. My phone buzzed one final time. Alea again. Stories going viral. National networks picking it up. Family fraud ring exposed by vigilante sister is trending. I showed Dominic the headline. Looks like you're finally famous, brother. Just not the way you planned. He slumped in his chair as Rivera led him out. Through the window, I could still see my parents dealing with the media circus they'd created. We'll need you to testify, Rivera said. Federal prosecutors are involved now. I'll tell them everything, I said, watching my mother break down in tears for the cameras. Her performance was as fake as everything else. My phone lit up with a message from my apartment building's management. Sale reversal approved. Previous owner has right of first refusal. Would you like to reclaim your property? I smiled, thinking of my beautiful kitchen, my marble countertops, my home. Yes, I typed. I'm coming back. Outside, reporters were still shouting questions at my parents. How many families did you defraud? Was your son's social media success all fake? Did you really steal your daughter's inheritance? I walked past them, head held high. My mother called out, Yesenia, please. We're still family. I turned back one last time. No, Mom, family doesn't do what you did, and I'm done pretending otherwise. The cameras followed me as I walked away. but I didn't care. I was going home. The federal courthouse buzzed with energy. News vans lined the street outside, and the gallery was packed with victims' families. I sat in the front row watching my parents and brother enter in matching orange jumpsuits. "All rise," the bailiff called. Alea slid into the seat beside me, notebook ready. "You okay?" she whispered. I nodded, gripping the folder containing my testimony. The prosecutor stood. "Your Honor, the evidence will show that the defendants orchestrated a sophisticated fraud scheme spanning multiple states, targeting families through emotional manipulation and false promises." My mother kept turning around, trying to catch my eye. I stared straight ahead. The prosecution calls Yesenia to the stand. Walking to the witness box felt like floating. I could feel everyone's eyes on me, the victims, the media, my family. "Please state your relationship to the defendants." "They're my parents and brother," I said clearly, "and they stole everything I had." The prosecutor nodded. "Tell us how it began." I recounted everything: the fake academy, the apartment sale, the hidden inheritance. With each detail, my mother's face crumpled further. My father's jaw clenched. Dominic couldn't meet my eyes. "And this audio recording?" The prosecutor played the file Vada had saved. "You recognize these voices?" "Yes, that's my parents, laughing about tricking me into selling my apartment." The gallery murmured. Someone gasped when they heard my mother's line about milking me for everything. My parents' lawyer tried to paint me as bitter, jealous, vindictive. "Isn't it true you were envious of your brother's success?" "What success?" I countered. "The fake followers, the forged documents, the stolen money?" "Objection," my parents' lawyer called. "Overruled," the judge said. "Continue." More victims testified. The car dealer, the other families. Each story followed the same pattern: trust betrayed, lives destroyed. Then came the federal investigator, laying out the money trail. Millions funneled through shell companies, fake businesses, hidden accounts. And this trust agreement, he held up my grandfather's document, was concealed from the rightful heir for 15 years while the defendant spent the money on luxury items. My father finally cracked. "We did it for the family," he shouted, "to maintain our status." "Order," the judge commanded. The prosecutor smiled. No further questions. During the recess, Alea showed me her phone. The story was everywhere. Family fraud trial reveals web of deception. Brother-sister battle exposes multi-million-dollar scam. Parents face decades in prison for defrauding daughter. "They're offering a plea deal." Detective Rivera appeared beside us. "Your brother's taking it. Full confession, testimony against your parents, reduced sentence." Back in session, Dominic took the stand. Gone was the cocky influencer persona. He looked small, defeated. "Yes," he admitted, "I knew the academy was fake. Yes, I helped create the forged documents. Yes, I spent my sister's money on the car and clothes." "And the other victims?" "Mom and Dad picked them, said they were easy marks, people who trusted family." My mother started sobbing. My father stared at the floor. The judge's verdict was swift: guilty on all counts. "Before sentencing," she said, "would any of the defendants like to speak?" My mother stood, tears streaming. "Yesenia, mi amor, we did it because we love you. We—" "Mrs. Chavez," the judge cut in, "address the court, not your daughter." My father declined to speak. Dominic tried one last time. "Sis, I'm so sorry. I never meant—" "Enough," the judge said. "The defendants have shown no real remorse, only regret at being caught. The sentence is as follows. My parents, 15 years each. Dominic, 5 years with his plea deal. Full restitution ordered to all victims, assets seized. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed. How does it feel to take down your own family? What's next for you? Any comments on the sentence?" I faced the cameras. Family isn't about blood, it's about trust. And when that trust is broken, it's about justice. My phone buzzed. A message from my apartment building. Keys ready for pickup. Welcome home. Alea squeezed my arm. Need company? I shook my head. I need to do this alone. As I walked away, I heard my mother calling from the prison transport. Yesenia, please, we're still family. I didn't turn around. Family doesn't steal from family. Family doesn't lie and manipulate. Family doesn't destroy lives for status. I was done with their version of family. It was time to build my own. The key turned smoothly in my apartment's lock. Everything was exactly as I'd left it. The marble countertops, the carefully chosen artwork, the morning light streaming through floor-to-ceiling windows. But I was different. My phone buzzed. Alea sending a link. Fraud Family's Daughter launches support network for victims of financial abuse. I smiled, clicking the link to my new website. Dozens of comments already. Thank you for giving us courage to speak up. My sister did the same thing to me. How do I report suspected family fraud? A knock at the door. Vada stood there with a bottle of champagne. Thought we should properly celebrate your homecoming, she said. Plus, my sister wants to thank you. The restitution payment came through. Come in, I said. I'm just setting up my new home office. My spare bedroom had been transformed into a workspace. A whiteboard listed upcoming speaking engagements, Financial Abuse Prevention Summit, Family Fraud Recognition Workshop, Survivor Support Network launch. Look what just arrived, Isaiah called from the living room, carrying in boxes. First batch of your books, Blood Money, How I Exposed My Family's Fraud Empire and Survived. Perfect timing, Alea said, walking in. Good Morning America wants you on next week. Your story's inspiring people to investigate their own family scams. My phone rang. Detective Rivera. Thought you'd want to know, he said. Your brother's been writing to you from prison. Want me to forward the letters? No, I said firmly. He made his choice. Good call. By the way, 3 more families came forward after your testimony. We're building cases now. Another knock. Troy from the dealership. Sorry to interrupt, he said, but I had to deliver this personally. He handed me an envelope. It's all the victims from the car fraud. We started a support group thanks to you. I opened my laptop, checking the support network's form. New posts appeared every minute. Finally stood up to my manipulative sister, reported my uncle's investment scam, found proof of forged documents, Vada popped the champagne, to turning pain into purpose, and to chosen family, Alea added. My phone buzzed with a prison notification, my mother requesting a visit. Delete, another notification. My father this time, delete, a third, Dominic, delete. You're not even tempted? Isaiah asked. They had their chance at family, I said. I'm building something better. The doorbell rang, dinner delivery, but instead of food, there was a package. Inside, a handwritten note. Dear Yesenia, your grandfather would be proud. He always said you were the strong one. Here's what he wanted you to have. Inside was my grandfather's old journal, documenting how he'd suspected my parents' schemes but couldn't prove it. The trust agreement had been his attempt to protect me. This is going in the next book, Alea said, reading over my shoulder. My phone lit up with messages from the support network. Starting legal proceedings tomorrow. Finally got my inheritance back. Teaching my kids about financial abuse warning signs. Veda raised her glass. To the woman who turned her nightmare into other people's salvation. I looked around my apartment, my home, my fortress, my fresh start, at the friends who had become family, at the evidence that pain could become purpose. To truth, I said, it always comes out. My phone buzzed one final time, a video going viral. Someone had interviewed my mother in prison. "My daughter betrayed us," she cried, "after everything we did for her." I turned it off, opened my laptop, started typing, "Dear Support Network, today I'm home, not just in my apartment, but in my truth. Here's what I learned about surviving family fraud." Responses poured in immediately, people sharing stories, finding courage, building strength. This was my real inheritance, not money or property, but the power to help others break free. "Ready for the network live stream?" Alea asked, setting up her camera. I looked at my gathered friends, my chosen family, at the support forum filling with survivors, at my grandfather's journal, validating everything. "Ready," I said, facing the camera. "Let's help someone else find their way home." Behind me, through the window, the city sparkled. Somewhere out there, another family was plotting, another victim was suffering, another truth was waiting to emerge. But now they had somewhere to turn, someone to trust, a way forward. I smiled into the camera. "Welcome to the Family Fraud Survivors Network. You're not alone anymore." The red light blinked on. Time to turn another ending into someone else's beginning.
The manila envelope hit my kitchen table with a dull thud that seemed to echo through my entire body. My father-in-law Ian's perfectly manicured hand rested on top of it, his gold wedding band catching the morning light. "This house will be ours by the month's end," he said, lips curling into what I can only describe as a predatory smile. "And Travis will finally have a proper family. I'm Zoe, and until 6 months ago, I thought I understood what family meant. Then my husband Casey died in a car accident, and his parents showed their true colours, faster than autumn leaves turning brown. Travis has a proper family," I said, my hands gripping the back of my kitchen chair so hard my knuckles turned white. "He has me." Deborah, my mother-in-law, gave that little laugh of hers, the one that sounds like wind chimes made of ice. "Dear, you can barely afford the property taxes on this house. How do you expect to raise our grandson on a teacher's salary?" I glanced toward the stairs, grateful that Travis was at kindergarten. He didn't need to witness this ambush. "I managed just fine. Casey left us well provided for." "Did he?" Ian slid the envelope toward me. "Because according to these documents, the house was never properly transferred into your name. A terrible oversight." My hands trembled as I opened the envelope. Inside were property documents, legal papers, and what appeared to be a notice of eviction. The dates, signatures, everything looked official, but something felt off. "This is impossible," I said, scanning the papers. "Casey and I signed the deed transfer together last year." "Clearly there was an error in processing," Ian said, straightening his designer tie. "These things happen. But don't worry, Anne. We'll make sure Travis maintains his standard of living." "By taking him away from his mother?" My voice cracked, but I forced myself to meet Ian's gaze. "He's 5 years old. He needs me." Deborah moved closer, her expensive perfume suffocating me. "We have resources, Zoe. The best lawyers, character witnesses, financial statements showing your inadequacies as a provider. Do you really want to put Travis through a lengthy court battle?" "Get out." The words came out barely above a whisper. "Excuse me?" Ian's smile vanished. "I said get out of my house." I straightened up, finding strength I didn't know I had. "Now." Ian gathered his coat, that smug expression returning. "Our lawyer will be in touch. Do consider what's best for Travis. A settlement could make this easier for everyone." After they left, I sank into my chair, the papers scattered before me like fallen soldiers. My phone buzzed. A text from my sister Andrea. "How did it go?" I snapped a photo of the documents and sent it to her. Within seconds, my phone rang. "These look suspicious," Andrea said without preamble. "The notary stamp is dated for a Sunday. Government offices are closed on Sundays, Zoe." Hope flickered in my chest. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying don't sign anything. Don't agree to anything. I'm coming over after work and we're going through every piece of paper Casey ever touched. I ended the call and walked to the living room where Casey's photo sat on the mantel. He was smiling, holding Travis on his shoulders at the beach last summer. "Your parents are trying to take everything we built," I whispered to his image, "but I won't let them. I promise." My phone buzzed again. A reminder to pick up Travis from school. I grabbed my keys, but before leaving I gathered every document Ian had left and locked them in my home office. Something about those papers nagged at me, like a loose thread begging to be pulled. As I drove to Travis's school, I thought about Casey's last words to me. Keep an eye on Dad's paperwork. At the time, I'd assumed he was delirious from his injuries. Now, I wondered if he'd been trying to warn me. I arrived at the school just as the children were being dismissed. Travis ran to me, his backpack bouncing, dark curls wild from play. "Mommy, I drew a dinosaur today." I hugged him tight, breathing in his familiar scent of crayons and apple juice. "That's wonderful, baby. Why don't you tell me all about it on the way home?" As he chatted excitedly in the back seat, I made a silent vow. Ian and Deborah might have money and influence, but I had something stronger. The truth that Casey tried to share, hidden somewhere in our home. And I was going to find it. Andrea spread the documents across my dining room table while Isla paced behind us, her heels clicking against the hardwood floor. The house was quiet. Travis had finally fallen asleep upstairs after an hour of "just one more story, Mommy." "Look at this," Andrea said, pointing to a line on the eviction notice. "The property ID number doesn't match your deed. It's off by 1 digit. Isla leaned over our shoulders. "Could that be just a typo?" "A typo on legal documents that could determine custody of a child?" Andrea shook her head. "No way! This was rushed. Sloppy work." I reached for my coffee, now cold from hours of document review. "So they're definitely forged?" "Oh, they're forged all right," Andrea confirmed, her lawyer mode in full swing. "But proving it in court, that's another matter. Ian has connections with every major law firm in the city." "Except yours," Isla pointed out. Andrea smiled grimly. "True, but I'm just starting out, going against someone like Rodney Hudson. He's been winning custody battles since I was in middle school." My stomach churned at the mention of Ian's attorney. I'd only met him once at Casey's funeral, where he'd handed me his business card with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "There has to be something else," I said, standing up to stretch. "Casey, he tried to tell me something about Ian's paperwork before he died." Isla stopped pacing. "What exactly did he say?" "Just to keep an eye on his dad's paperwork. He was in and out of consciousness at the hospital, so I didn't." My voice caught. I didn't think much of it then. "Where did Casey keep his work stuff?" Andrea asked, already heading toward my home office. "Most of it's in boxes in the garage," I said, following her. He was always bringing work home, especially in the last few months before the accident. The garage was cold and smelled of cardboard and motor oil. 3 large boxes marked "work" sat in the corner, untouched since Casey's death. I couldn't bring myself to go through them before. "Start with the most recent," Andrea instructed, pulling out her phone to use as a flashlight. We began sorting through papers, financial reports, meeting minutes, investment portfolios. Most of it looked like standard business documents, until Isla held up a USB drive. "Found this taped to the bottom of a folder," she said. Andrea plugged it into her laptop, and we huddled around the screen. Most files were encrypted, but one opened, a spreadsheet showing wire transfers to offshore accounts. "Holy shit," Andrea whispered. "These amounts, they're massive. And look at the dates. They align perfectly with the company's major property acquisitions." "What does that mean?" I asked, though I was starting to understand. "It means," Andrea said slowly, "that Ian might have been cooking the books, inflating purchase prices, skimming off the top. This could be evidence of serious fraud." My phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. My blood ran cold as I read it. "Back off now, or Travis won't be the only thing you lose." I showed it to Andrea and Isla. "Save it," Andrea said immediately. "Screenshot it, email it to yourself, everything. This is harassment." "They're scared," Isla realized. "They know you might have something on them." I sank onto a nearby workbench. "What do I do? If they're willing to threaten me?" "You fight back," Andrea said firmly. These documents they're using against you. They're not just forged. They're desperate. Ian's trying to silence you before you figure out what Casey knew. But Travis is safer with you fighting than giving in, Isla interrupted. Think about it. If they're willing to do this to you, what would they teach him? She was right. I thought about Travis upstairs, peaceful in his race car bed, clutching the stuffed dinosaur Casey gave him for his last birthday. I thought about Ian's smug smile, Deborah's cold laugh, and Casey's final warning. Okay, I said, standing up straighter. What's our next move? Andrea was already typing on her laptop. First, we document everything. Then, I have a friend in the DA's office who specializes in financial crimes. We need to move carefully, build our case before they realize what we have. I can help too, Isla added. My firm handles PR for half the judges in the circuit. I hear things. Could be useful to know which judges might be in Ian's pocket. For the first time since Ian dropped that envelope on my table, I felt hope. It wasn't just me against them anymore. I had allies, evidence, and most importantly, the truth on my side. Casey knew, I said softly. He was trying to expose them, wasn't he? Andrea squeezed my hand. And now you'll finish what he started. We worked through the night, organizing documents and building our case. Somewhere above us, Travis slept soundly, unaware that his mother was preparing for the fight of her life. The attic was stifling even at midnight. I shifted another dusty box, my flashlight beam catching cobwebs and forgotten memories. Travis was at a sleepover with his best friend. The first night I'd let him out of my sight since Ian's threats began. Casey, where did you hide it? I whispered, remembering his odd behavior in the weeks before the accident. He'd spent hours up here claiming to be organizing old files. My hand brushed against something solid behind a stack of photo albums. A leather-bound journal, its spine cracked with age. I'd never seen it before. My phone rang, making me jump. Andrea's name flashed on the screen. They filed the custody papers, she said without preamble. Hearing set for 3 weeks from now. 3 weeks? My voice echoed in the empty attic. That's too soon. They're pushing for emergency custody, claiming you're mentally unstable from grief. Andrea's voice hardened. They've got a psychiatrist ready to testify. A psychiatrist who's never even met me, I'm guessing. Probably on Ian's payroll. Papers shuffled on her end. Have you found anything useful up there? I opened the journal, my flashlight illuminating Casey's familiar handwriting. Maybe. I found some kind of diary. Hold on. The first few entries were mundane. Business meetings, lunch appointments. Then, halfway through, Dad's been moving money again. Same pattern as before. Need to track the transfers. Andrea, I said, my heart racing. Listen to this. Found proof of the shell companies. Everything leads back to the Cayman accounts. Key in office safe. Key? What key? I flipped through more pages, scanning entries. Wait, there's more. Dad threatened to cut me out if I don't stay quiet. Told him I have copies of everything. He doesn't know where. The USB drive we found isn't enough, Andrea said. We need those copies. A loose photograph fell from between the pages. Casey in his office, standing next to a large painting of a sailboat. I'd always hated that painting. He'd insisted on hanging it despite it clashing with everything else in the room. I need to check something, I said, hurrying down the attic stairs. Call you back. In Casey's office, the painting hung exactly as he'd left it. I'd never moved it. Couldn't bring myself to change anything in here. Now I lifted it carefully from the wall. Behind it was a small wall safe. Clever, Casey, I whispered, running my fingers along the edges. But where was the key? I returned to the journal, reading more carefully. One entry caught my eye. Moved everything to the new safe. Key's where we first met, she'll understand. Where we first met. My mind raced back 7 years to that little coffee shop downtown. Casey had been reading a book. I ran to our bedroom bookshelf, pulling out his old copy of The Great Gatsby. There, pressed between the pages, was a small silver key. My hands shook as I called Andrea. I found it, I said. But I haven't opened the safe yet. Should I wait? No, she said firmly. "We need to know what we're dealing with. Put me on speaker." The key slid in perfectly. Inside the safe were folders, USB drives, and a sealed envelope with my name on it. "There's so much here," I said, spreading the contents on Casey's desk. "Financial records, photographs of documents." "Andrea, these look like private banking records from the Cayman Islands. Take photos of everything right now, then pack it all up and bring it to my office first thing tomorrow." A car door slammed outside. I froze. "Someone's here," I whispered. "Get everything back in the safe," Andrea ordered. "Now, text me when they're gone." I shoved the documents back, locked the safe, and barely had the painting back in place when the doorbell rang. My heart pounding, I went downstairs. Deborah stood on my porch, perfectly coiffed despite the late hour. "Isn't it past your bedtime?" I asked, not opening the screen door. "We need to talk," she said, "about Travis's future." "There's nothing to talk about." She sighed dramatically. "Ian's willing to be generous, Zoe. A substantial settlement. Enough for you to start fresh somewhere else." "You mean enough to abandon my son?" "Be reasonable," she snapped, mask slipping. "You can't win this. Ian never loses." I thought of the safe upstairs filled with Casey's careful documentation of their crimes. "There's a first time for everything." After she left, I texted Andrea. "Safe for now, but they're getting desperate." Her reply came instantly. "Good. Desperate people make mistakes. Get some sleep. Tomorrow we go to war." I returned to Casey's office, touching the painting gently. "You knew, didn't you? You were protecting us all along." For the first time since finding the journal, I opened the envelope with my name on it. Inside was a single sentence. "Trust yourself. You're stronger than they know." Andrea's office buzzed with energy as she spread Casey's documents across her conference table. Isla sat beside me, taking notes on her laptop while Travis played with his toys in the corner, headphones on, watching cartoons on my iPad. "This is incredible," Andrea said, holding up a document. "Look at these signatures. Ian was authorizing transfers to fake companies, then routing the money back through personal accounts." "In English, please," I said, glancing at Travis to make sure he wasn't listening. "Your father-in-law was stealing from his own company," Isla translated. "Millions of dollars hidden in offshore accounts. And Casey documented all of it," Andrea added. "Bank statements, wire transfers, even photos of meetings with sketchy investors who were really just Ian's cronies." My hands trembled as I picked up another folder. "Will it be enough? To stop the custody case? Absolutely. To send Ian to prison? Even better." The conference room door burst open. Rodney Hudson stood there, his expensive suit as impeccable as his timing was suspicious. "Ladies," he said smoothly, "having a little meeting." I moved to block Travis from view, but Rodney had already spotted him. Young Travis. How convenient. I need to document his current living conditions anyway. "Get out," Andrea snapped, standing. "This is a private meeting." "Private? With evidence pertaining to my client scattered all over the table." Rodney pulled out his phone. "Mind if I take a few pictures?" Isla stepped forward. "Try it, and I'll have security up here so fast your head will spin. I'm still on the building's board of directors." Rodney's smile faltered slightly. "Ian wanted me to deliver a message. A final offer. Walk away now. Take $2 million and we forget everything." "Everything?" I laughed, surprising myself with how cold it sounded. Like how Ian embezzled company funds? Or how he forged documents to try stealing my house? "Careful, Mrs. Santiago. Accusations like that could be considered defamatory." "Only if they're false," Andrea countered. "Now leave, or I'll file for a restraining order." After Rodney left, Isla made a call to building security while Andrea quickly packed up the documents. "They know we have something," she said. "We need to move fast. I'm filing these with the DA today." "What about Travis?" I asked, watching my son happily playing, oblivious to the tension around him. "He stays with you," Andrea assured me. "No judge will grant custody to grandparents under federal investigation for fraud." My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "Final warning. Take the deal." I showed it to Andrea and Isla. Perfect, Andrea said, snapping a photo of my screen. More evidence of harassment. They're digging their own grave. I don't understand, I said. Why not just let me keep the house? Why try to take Travis? Isla's eyes widened. Because Travis is Casey's heir. If anything happens to Ian, Travis would inherit controlling interest in the company, Andrea finished, with you as his guardian until he's of age. They're not just trying to hurt me, I realized. They're trying to protect their scheme. Mom, Travis called out. Can we get lunch? I'm hungry. Of course, baby. I turned to Andrea. What's our next move? I'm meeting my contact at the DA's office in an hour. Isla, can you get Zoe and Travis somewhere safe, just in case? Isla nodded. My lake house. It's gated, private security. They'll never find them there. I gathered Travis's things, trying to make it seem like an adventure rather than an escape. Hey, buddy, how about a little vacation? Aunt Isla has a house with a huge yard and a tire swing. Really? Can I bring Rex? He hugged his dinosaur toy tighter. Of course you can. As we left through the back entrance, I saw Rodney in the lobby, talking intensely on his phone. He didn't see us. In Isla's car, Travis fell asleep almost immediately. Rex clutched to his chest. I watched the city fade away through the window, thinking about Casey's words in his letter. Trust yourself. You're stronger than they know. My phone buzzed again. Andrea this time. DA is reviewing everything. Says it's biggest fraud case she's seen in years. Stay safe. We'll call tonight. Isla glanced at me. You okay? Yeah, I said, surprising myself by meaning it. For the first time since Casey died, I feel like I'm doing exactly what he would have wanted. Which is? I looked back at Travis, peaceful in his car seat. Protecting our son and making sure justice is served. Even if it means sending your in-laws to prison? Especially then. I touched the window, watching rain begin to fall. They chose money over family. Now they'll lose both. The highway stretched ahead, leading us towards safety while behind us, Andrea prepared to unleash the truth Casey died protecting. The storm was coming, and for once I wasn't afraid of getting caught in it. 3 days at Isla's lake house felt like living in a different world. Travis spent his days exploring the sprawling yard while I jumped at every unexpected sound. The trial was just 2 weeks away. Mommy, look what I found! Travis ran up to the porch, holding something in his muddy hands. It's like Daddy's! My heart stopped. In his palm lay a silver key, similar to the one I'd found in Casey's book. Where did you get that, sweetie? By the big tree, there's a box there. I followed him to an ancient oak near the property line. Half buried in its roots was a small metal lockbox, weathered but intact. My phone rang. Andrea. Turn on the news, she said without greeting. Channel 7. I rushed inside, Travis trailing behind me. Isla was already watching, her face pale. On screen, Ian stood outside his company headquarters, surrounded by reporters. The ticker below read, Major fraud investigation launched. CEO denies allegations. The accusations are baseless, Ian was saying, his usual confidence wavering. This is a family matter being twisted by... The feed cut to a reporter. Sources say evidence of massive financial fraud was delivered to the DA's office earlier this week, including documents allegedly collected by the CEO's late son, Casey Santiago, before his death last year. They're running scared, Andrea said in my ear. But Zoe, be careful. I just got a copy of a letter they're planning to submit to the court. What letter? They're claiming Casey was mentally unstable before his death, that he fabricated the evidence during a breakdown. Travis tugged at my sleeve. Mom, can I show you the box now? 1 second, baby. I turned back to the phone. They're trying to discredit him? It gets worse. They've got a psychiatrist willing to testify that grief has made you paranoid, that you're clinging to Casey's delusions. Isla muted the TV. Zoe, Travis found something you need to see. I followed them back outside to the oak tree. The lockbox was small, rusty around the edges. The key Travis found fit perfectly. Inside was a USB drive and a sealed envelope dated 1 week before Casey's accident. My hands shook as I opened it. Andrea, I said into the phone. Casey was here, at Isla's house. He left something. What? That's impossible. How would he? Because I told him he could use it, Isla interrupted. He called me last year, said he needed a safe place to store some documents. I gave him the gate code, but never knew if he came. I scanned Casey's letter, my breath catching. Andrea, he knew. He knew they might try to discredit him. This letter, it's a sworn statement about Ian's fraud, witnessed by a federal judge. A judge? Which one? Judge Margaret Reynolds. Andrea gasped. Reynolds is handling your custody case. She's known for being incorruptible. That's why Ian's been trying to get it moved to another court. Travis, bored with adult conversation, had wandered back to his play area. I watched him through tears, seeing so much of Casey in his movements. There's more, I said, reading further. Bank account numbers, dates, names of everyone involved. Casey created a complete backup of everything. This changes everything, Andrea said. They can't claim he was unstable if he was clear-headed enough to get a federal judge involved. And Reynolds will have to recuse herself now. She's a potential witness. My phone beeped with an incoming text. Unknown number again. You think you're safe at the lake house? Think again. Andrea? I said, my voice tight. They know where we are. Get out of there. Now. I'm calling the police. Isla was already moving. My car's packed. I always keep emergency bags ready. I ran to Travis. Baby, we need to go on another adventure, okay? But I like it here. I know, but... Headlights swept across the lawn as a car pulled up to the gate. Isla. Back door, she said calmly, grabbing Travis's hand. I have a boat ready at the dock. Standard evacuation procedure. You have an evacuation procedure? She smiled grimly. I work in corporate PR. You'd be surprised what you need to prepare for. We slipped out through the back just as someone started pounding on the front door. Travis, sensing our fear, stayed quiet as we hurried down the path to the private dock. The boat was small but fast. As Isla steered us across the dark lake, I held Travis close, the lockbox clutched in my free hand. Where are we going? He whispered. Somewhere safe, I promised, watching the lights of pursuing vehicles reflect off the water behind us. And this time, we're not running away. We're running toward something. What? I thought of Casey's letter, of Judge Reynolds, of all the evidence now safely in our possession. Justice, baby. We're running toward justice. My phone lit up with a message from Andrea. Police en route. Judge Reynolds wants to meet. First thing tomorrow. We've got them. The courthouse buzzed with tension as I sat beside Andrea, Travis safely tucked away with Isla at a secure location. Ian and Deborah sat across the aisle, their perfect postures betraying no hint of the chaos they'd caused at the lake house last night. Judge Reynolds entered, her stern expression revealing nothing about our early morning meeting where she'd reviewed Casey's sworn statement. Your Honour, Rodney began, standing smoothly. Given recent developments, we request a change of venue due to potential. Denied, Judge Reynolds cut him off. This court is well aware of the circumstances. Proceed with your case. Rodney recovered quickly, launching into a practiced speech about my supposed instability. Mrs. Santiago has exhibited increasingly paranoid behavior since her husband's death. She's made outlandish accusations, fled with the child to hidden locations. Objection, Andrea interrupted. Counsel is presenting speculation as fact. Sustained, Judge Reynolds said. Mr. Hudson, do you have any actual evidence of Mrs. Santiago's alleged instability? We have an expert witness, Your Honour. Dr. Phillips. A grey-haired man in an expensive suit took the stand. I'd never seen him before in my life. Dr. Phillips, you've evaluated Mrs. Santiago's mental state. Based on observed behaviours and reported incidents. Objection, Andrea stood. The witness has never met my client. This is hearsay. Your Honour, Rodney pressed, Dr. Phillips is a leading expert in grief-induced paranoia. Judge Reynolds leaned forward. Has Dr. Phillips ever treated Mrs. Santiago? Well, no, but... Then his testimony is inadmissible. Next witness. I watched Ian's face redden as his carefully constructed case began crumbling. Deborah clutched her designer handbag so tightly her knuckles turned white. Your Honor, Rodney tried again. We have documentation showing Mrs. Santiago's financial inability to provide. Actually, Andrea interrupted, approaching the bench with a folder, we have evidence that the financial documents previously submitted to this court were fraudulent. The gallery buzzed with whispers. Ian stood abruptly. Your Honor, I object to these baseless accusations. Sit down, Mr. Santiago, Judge Reynolds ordered. Ms. Butler, proceed. Andrea projected a document onto the courtroom screen. This is a bank statement submitted by the plaintiffs, showing Mrs. Santiago's supposed financial distress. And this, she switched images, is the actual statement from the bank, showing a very different picture. These documents are stolen, Rodney protested. Obtained illegally. They were obtained, Andrea said clearly, by Casey Santiago before his death, along with evidence of extensive financial fraud perpetrated by Ian Santiago. Evidence that was documented and witnessed by... She paused meaningfully. This very court. The room erupted. Judge Reynolds banged her gavel. Order! Your Honor, Rodney sputtered. This is highly irregular. What's irregular, Judge Reynolds said, is attempting to use fraudulent documents to gain custody of a child while under federal investigation. Ian stood again. I demand... You demand nothing, Judge Reynolds snapped. Sit down, or I'll have you removed. She turned to me. Mrs. Santiago, do you have anything to add? I stood, my voice steadier than I expected. Yes, Your Honor. I'd like to submit Casey's final letter into evidence, the one he wrote explaining exactly why he feared his parents might try to take our son. Rodney jumped up. Objection! This is all hearsay from a deceased witness whose testimony was properly documented and notarized, Andrea countered, by Judge Reynolds herself. The courtroom fell silent. Ian and Deborah exchanged panicked looks as their lawyer frantically flipped through his papers. Furthermore, Andrea continued, we have evidence of ongoing harassment, including threats made against my client last night when the plaintiff's associates trespassed on private property. Judge Reynolds studied the room for a long moment. I've heard enough. This court finds no merit in the plaintiff's petition for custody. Moreover, given the evidence of fraudulent documents and witness intimidation, I'm referring this matter to the District Attorney's Office. Your Honor, Rodney protested. In addition, she continued, I'm issuing an immediate restraining order preventing Ian and Deborah Santiago from coming within 500 feet of Mrs. Santiago or her son. I heard Deborah's sharp intake of breath, saw Ian's face turn from red to ashen. This case is dismissed. The gavel banged with finality. Mrs. Santiago, you are free to go. As court officers approached Ian and Deborah, Andrea squeezed my hand. It's over. Not quite, I said, watching my in-laws being read their rights. The criminal case is just beginning. My phone buzzed. A photo from Isla, showing Travis playing happily in their secure location, blissfully unaware that his future had just been secured. Casey would be proud, Andrea said softly. He knew, I replied, gathering my things as Ian and Deborah were led away. He knew exactly what would happen. That's why he left us a path to follow. Outside the courthouse, reporters waited with cameras, but I barely noticed them. All I could think about was getting to Travis, holding him close, and finally starting our new life, free from threats, free from fear, and full of the truth Casey had fought to protect. The federal courthouse was a different kind of intimidating than family court. I sat in the witness box facing not just Ian and Deborah, but a jury of 12 people who would decide their fate. Mrs. Santiago, the prosecutor began, please tell us when you first became aware of the financial irregularities at your father-in-law's company. I glanced at Travis, sitting between Andrea and Isla in the gallery, absorbed in his colouring book. 3 months had passed since the custody hearing, and he'd grown so much stronger. Happier. It started with the custody case, I explained. They tried to use forged documents to take my son, but my husband had already discovered their scheme. Objection, Ian's new lawyer called out. Speculation about the deceased's knowledge. Overruled, the judge said. Continue. I held up Casey's journal. My husband documented everything. The fake companies, the offshore accounts, the money laundering. He knew they'd try to discredit him, so he created a failsafe. The prosecutor displayed Casey's sworn statement on the courtroom screens. This statement, witnessed by Judge Reynolds, details over $50 million in embezzled funds. Can you tell us how you found this evidence? My son, I said, smiling at Travis, found the key to a lockbox containing the final proof. Casey had hidden it somewhere he knew only I would think to look. Ian's face contorted with rage. Deborah dabbed at her eyes with a monogrammed handkerchief, her perfect makeup finally cracking. The prosecutor presented more documents. These bank records show regular transfers to accounts in the Cayman Islands, all authorized by the defendant, Ian Santiago. Mrs. Santiago, did your husband explain why he began investigating these transfers? Yes. He discovered that client funds were being diverted, properties were being purchased at inflated prices, and the difference was being pocketed through shell companies. And when he confronted his father, Ian threatened to destroy him. I met my father-in-law's gaze. Casey recorded that conversation too. The courtroom speakers crackled with Casey's voice. Dad, this has to stop. What you're doing is illegal. Ian's recorded voice replied, You ungrateful little... I built this company. Everything you have is because of me. Cross me, and I'll make sure you lose it all. Deborah broke down, sobbing. Ian's attorney requested a recess, but the judge denied it. Mrs. Santiago, the prosecutor continued, what happened after this confrontation? A week later, Casey died in a car accident. His brakes failed. The jury stirred. This was new information. The FBI had only recently concluded their investigation into Casey's death. Objection, Ian's lawyer shouted. This is prejudicial. Your Honor, the prosecutor countered, we have the FBI's forensic report confirming tampering with the victim's vehicle. The judge allowed it. Ian's face went pale. Mrs. Santiago, what do you believe was your husband's ultimate goal in gathering this evidence? He wanted to protect our son, I said, my voice steady. He knew what they were capable of. He knew they'd try to take Travis to maintain control of the company. So he left us a way to fight back. The prosecutor nodded. No further questions. During cross-examination, Ian's lawyer tried to paint Casey as unstable, me as vindictive, but the evidence was too strong, the paper trail too clear. When the jury returned after only 2 hours of deliberation, Travis had fallen asleep in Andrea's lap. On the count of conspiracy to commit fraud, how do you find? Guilty. On the count of money laundering? Guilty. On the count of witness tampering? Guilty. Count after count, the word guilty rang through the courtroom. When they reached the final charge, conspiracy to commit murder, I held my breath. Guilty. I watched as federal marshals led Ian and Deborah away in handcuffs. They wouldn't be eligible for parole for at least 20 years. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed us again, but Isla's PR team created a path through them. Andrea carried sleeping Travis to the car while I made a brief statement. My husband died trying to expose the truth, I said into the microphones. Today, that truth finally came to light. Later that evening at home, I found Travis in Casey's office looking at his father's photo. Daddy was a hero, wasn't he? He asked. I sat beside him, pulling him close. Yes, baby. He protected us even when he couldn't be here. Like a guardian angel? Exactly like that. My phone buzzed. A message from Andrea. Federal seizure of assets approved. Travis's trust fund restored. Everything Ian stole goes back to the victims. I looked at Casey's photo, at his kind eyes and knowing smile. He'd left us everything we needed. Evidence, allies, and most importantly, the strength to fight. Mom, Travis asked, can we get ice cream? I laughed, feeling lighter than I had in months. Yes, baby, we can get ice cream. Justice had been served, but more importantly, our future was finally our own. The morning sun streamed through Casey's office window as I packed the last of the court documents into storage boxes. Travis sat at his father's desk, carefully arranging action figures between stacks of papers. "Mom, look what I found!" He held up a small photo that had slipped behind the desk. It showed Casey and me at that coffee shop where we first met, both of us laughing over spilled cappuccino. My phone buzzed. Andrea calling. "Have you seen the news?" I switched on the office TV. A reporter stood outside Ian's former company headquarters. In a shocking development, federal investigators have uncovered similar fraud schemes at 3 other major corporations, all linked to offshore accounts identified in the Santiago case. "Your story didn't just take down Ian," Andrea said. "It's causing a domino effect. The FBI is calling it the biggest corporate fraud bust in a decade." Travis tugged at my sleeve. "Can we hang Daddy's picture in my room now?" "Of course, baby." I turned back to the phone. "Andrea, I need to go. Travis and I have some redecorating to do." "Wait, check your email first. Someone wants to talk to you." I opened my laptop to find a message from a major publishing house. They wanted me to write a book about our story. Not just the legal battle, but the human side. How a mother and son found strength in the truth their father left behind. "What do you think?" Andrea asked. I watched Travis carefully removing Casey's photo from its frame. People need to know they can fight back, that the truth matters. The doorbell rang. Isla stood on the porch with a moving box labelled Casey's Notes. "Found these at my lake house," she said. "Thought you might want them for the book." "How did you know about—" "Please," she smirked. "Who do you think recommended you to the publisher?" Travis ran to hug her. "Aunt Isla, want to help me hang Daddy's picture?" While they headed upstairs, I opened the box. Inside were Casey's handwritten notes about his investigation, but also personal letters he'd written to Travis, one for each birthday until he turned 18. "He really did think of everything," Isla said, returning downstairs. "Mom," Travis called. "Come see." In his room, Travis had created a memory wall. Casey's photo hung in the center, surrounded by drawings, ticket stubs, and small mementos. He'd even added the newspaper clipping about Ian's conviction, though I suspected he didn't fully understand it yet. "It's perfect," I said, hugging him. My phone chimed with a text from Judge Reynolds. "Thought you'd want to know. Your case inspired 3 other whistleblowers to come forward. You're starting a movement." Isla read the message over my shoulder. She's right. People are talking. About standing up to corruption, about fighting for their families. "I just wanted to protect my son," I said. "And you did more than that," Isla replied. "You showed others they could protect theirs too." Travis pulled out Casey's old copy of The Great Gatsby, the book he'd been reading when we met. "Can you read this to me?" "That's a bit advanced for you, buddy." "Please." Daddy wrote notes in it. I opened the book, finding Casey's familiar scribbles in the margins. He'd underlined one passage. "They were careless people. They smashed up things and creatures and then retreated back into their money or their vast carelessness." "How about we start with these instead?" I pulled out the birthday letters. Travis settled into my lap as I opened the first envelope. Casey's words filled the room. "Dear Travis, by the time you read this, you might understand why I had to fight. But what I want you to know most is how much I love you." Isla quietly excused herself as Travis and I read letter after letter, each one revealing more of Casey's heart, his hopes, his determination to protect us even after he was gone. The afternoon sun cast long shadows through the window when we finished the last letter. Travis had fallen asleep, clutching his father's photo. My laptop screen glowed with the publisher's email, cursor blinking in the reply box. I began typing, "I'll tell our story. Not just about corruption and justice, but about a father's love, a mother's strength, and a little boy who helped uncover the truth by finding a key in the roots of an old oak tree." Outside, life went on. Companies reformed their practices, whistleblowers came forward, families found their voices. But in that quiet room, holding my sleeping son, I felt Casey's presence stronger than ever. We'd done more than survive. We'd helped change things. And somewhere I knew Casey was smiling.